The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51. Wrong analysis due to wrong intelligence. Spandine, if this happens again, don't contact me, just resign. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, thank you for your trouble. Facing the roaring Dendenmushi, Spandine acted very humble. This accident made him use a lot of connections to settle the matter. Previously, he wanted to take most of the credit for finding the treasure of rocks, so he concealed some key figures and directly contacted the people above. Unexpectedly, the treasure was not found, and Fault and the CP0s had accidents. Fault's side was easy to deal with, because he was in charge of CP9, and Fault was not the strongest one, and the backup personnel could fill his vacancy. In the rear, the CP organization has an island dedicated to cultivating talents. But CP0 is different. There are some outstanding people there, and the most important thing is that these people are very loyal to the government. If such people suffer losses for no reason, someone must be held responsible. Before Spandam burned down the office, the life card of Prilt had been in good condition, so that after the life card was lost, Spandine completely lost control of the situation in the kingdom of Nadjo. The owner of the life card was also a member of John's team, and the life card naturally disappeared after his death. CP0 would not contact him, and Fled's last report was that everything was fine. The two CP0s might not be John's opponents in a head-on confrontation, but it was reasonable to retreat. Mary Jo's life card had confirmed their death, and other people had already investigated the specific situation. In this case, Spandine could only tell all the information. In view of the fact that his information had a certain value, he found a lot of connections, and the matter was put down. However, in order to deal with those people, he could be said to have lost a lot of money, and Spandam, who caused the loss of information, was also cared for by Spandine, and he was still lying on the bed, and couldn't get up. After Spandine's wrong intelligence and the subsequent investigation of the kingdom of Nadjo, they believed that Prilt was the culprit of all this. This person actually deceived everyone, and secretly sought Rock's treasure, so there is such a special reward. This matter is not over yet, and the government personnel have conducted a more detailed investigation here. Later, the people who investigated the situation in the kingdom of Natho made new discoveries. Unless they knew Rock's secret, no one would have thought that there was such a large space under the central lake of this island. They were able to find some clues thanks to John. His awakening ability caused the change of the terrain of the kingdom of Natho. After Kaido and others left, a small-scale earthquake occurred here. A hole opened in the underground cave. After some corpses and a small amount of treasure were washed out by the water, the hole collapsed completely and the aftershocks. These people's strong physique is not only manifested in life, but also in death. After so long, the bodies have not rotted yet, and their original identities can still be recognized. In the end, they got their own judgment. Those people fell into infighting because of the treasure, and finally died at the hands of unknown people. There was no result if they continued to investigate. At the urging of the kingdom of Natho, they also planned to end the investigation. The kingdom of Nathu has protested many times. They are engaged in grey business. A group of Navy and government personnel are here to investigate the situation. In addition to the previous earthquake and abnormal low tide, the national economy has been severely damaged in recent days. If they delay for a few more days, they will soon be unable to pay the gold in the sky. However, among the evidence they collected, there is a small knife with an ancient style, which is the knife that Alga lost. Not everyone knows about ancient characters. It is a coincidence that Flid can recognize Alchema's characters. These investigators just collected the evidence. The analysis of the situation will wait until other personnel are responsible after returning. At the same time, Flit's body was also found. Compared with those CP0 who died of unknown causes, Flit's body has long been taken in by the kingdom of Nathu. Although the kingdom of Nathu has regulations, there are always pirates who die in fights on the island. They are no longer surprised by such people. He suffered severe burns, fractures in most of his body, and a long-term blunt blow to his head. He seemed to have been tortured. What did he find? I don't know. Let's wait for the people above to check it slowly. We should leave. The king of the kingdom of Natho has called Mary Joa several times. Then a group of professionals conducted a so-called exploration of the clues they found, and the dagger produced in alchemy also attracted their attention. Under Spandine's solemn guarantee, the world government successfully misunderstood and believed that it was Prilt who planned all this. Either Ox found pure gold, or Prilt found new clues about alchemy, and finally a special reward was given to Prilt. This is also the reason why Spandine can operate successfully without even being demoted. But in any case, they did not have the ability to catch a dead person in the sea. For a time, the people in charge of this matter were in a deadlock. Based on a bunch of wrong information, they put the clues on alchemy. They believed that, as long as they could find the missing alchemy, they could find Prilt. A few months later, after a period of sailing, their ship of the beasts has also arrived at the Sabaody archipelago. This ship can be said to have become a gathering place for ethnic minorities. There are the only 2 survivors of alchemy, 2 survivors of the Lunaria tribe, and the long extinct species of basilisk lizards. However, the crew style has been abnormal recently. Everyone has bruises on their body. No, to be precise, only Quinn has bruises on his body. Athi is not in the training range, and he is not a combatant. Alga's physical training has just ended, and she has not yet entered the stage of being beaten. Jin wrapped himself tightly, and Shaina was similar. Even if there were injuries on his body, they could not be seen, but Quinn was different. His size was originally larger than that of outsiders. Under Kaido's teaching, even with the recovery ability of the animal system, there were many bruises on his body. However, it was also effective. After this period of time, the domineering level of several people on the ship has been significantly improved. At the same time, the clothes of the same style in Alga's cabinet were also modified to remove the prominent alchemy characters on them. The lesson from the last time made her realize that it was not a good thing to expose this kind of information. She had never seen what Shaina and Jin looked like, and they had no intention of taking off their masks or cancelling their transformations in front of Olga, at least not now. However, Asi did have some guesses. Just like alchemy, it was something that was not easy to expose. More than 100 years ago, the Lunaria tribe was much more numerous than it is now, and the government's efforts to capture them were also greater. Chapter 52. Drunk Kaido is always abnormal. At the beginning, the news of the wanted Lunarians was all over the islands. Asi had also seen similar news, but he had no interest in speaking out. He would be happier if he said it this way. Whether it was the pure gold or the Lunarians, they would avoid the world government, so that everyone would be truly on the same page. But Quinn was still quite happy, because after a few months, Kaido finally recruited the first batch of men, filling most of the number of the beast pirates. However, this group of people were not really subordinates to Kaido, but only consumable troops. He was not taking a single elite route, and the number of people was also part of his requirements. At present, this ship of people joined voluntarily, and such things were not uncommon. Pirates are a world where the strong are respected, and powerful pirates often have a group of fans who come here to admire their reputation. After Kaido's bounty order was updated, he was a powerful pirate even in the new world, not to mention in paradise. It was not surprising that someone came to him to admire his reputation. After a few months, they also understood that, except when Kaido was drunk, they were safe most of the time. Kaido rarely took charge of things. The ship's affairs were mainly handled by Quinn and Jin. Quinn was in charge of trivial matters, while Jin was in charge of general issues. However, everything involving Arceus would attract Shaina's attention. Through practical actions, Shaina made them understand Arceus's position on the ship. The last person who spoke inappropriately was almost burned to ashes by Shaina. But now, there was a little problem on the ship. The captain of this ship, the governor of the beast pirates, Kaido, was missing. No, to be precise, there was a banquet a few days ago, and this guy drank too much, and then turned into a dragon, and flew away to who knows where. This kind of thing has happened before, but after 2 or 3 days, he can fly back by himself, thanks to the life card that Quinn gave him. At first, the people on the ship were still panicked, but now they are used to it, and gradually accept the problem that Kaido will disappear periodically. Usually the frequency of disappearances depends on the frequency of banquets. But this time, Kaido still did not return after a longer time than usual, and the direction of his life card was not right. It was not until the morning newspaper arrived that the people on the ship figured out what had happened. Master Holy Beast, are you there? Something seems to have happened to Mr. Kaido. He was arrested again. Shaina held the newspaper that the newsbird had just delivered. Generally speaking, the Navy G4 branch found that an unknown creature had entered the base's warehouse. After investigation, it was found that it was the wanted Kaido. He has been detained and will be sent to the underwater prison in Pelton in the near future. Who is the chief of the G4 branch? The former Vice Admiral of the G4 branch has retired, and now Vice Admiral Hadera of the Navy headquarters is in charge. The branches of the Navy's Grand Line are named GX, and the G4 branch happens to be near the Sabaody archipelago. Unlike the 4C branches, whose military ranks are 3 levels lower than those of the headquarters, the military ranks of the headquarters are the same as those of the branches of the Grand Line, so there is no difference. Just like pirates can use bounties to judge their approximate strength, the strength of the Navy can also be estimated by rank, but there are always some exceptions, such as a certain Garp who refused to be promoted, a name that Hadera has never heard of. Excluding those monsters in the Navy, Kaido will not be defeated easily. After all, the strength span of the Vice Admiral level is also very large. A name that he has no impression of can most likely rule out the possibility of Kaido's defeat. With Kaido's virtue, Arceus thought that he was arrested after drinking a second round in the Navy's warehouse, resulting in a hangover, and maybe he is still not sober. According to his impression of Kaido, although he can't remember the exact number, he has been arrested many times. If nothing unexpected happens, he will run out by himself if he waits a little longer. But at this time, Arceus could clearly feel that the ship changed its direction of travel. Has the course changed? Yes, the specific. You will know after listening. Shaina pointed to the deck below. We are going to rescue Kaido. Oh. Let those Navy know how powerful we are. Oh. These people are really energetic. Do they know what a Vice Admiral is? Although the group of brothers recruited by Kaido were already strong in the first half, going to the branch to rescue people is like hitting a rock with an egg. Being able to shout such words is enough to show their naivety, but there will never be a lack of such naive guys in the group of pirates. Master Shenju, do you want to stop them? No need. After all, we are in a cooperative relationship. It is reasonable for them to rescue their captain, but these guys can't rescue anyone at all. Just treat it as an infiltration training for Alga. It is unrealistic to expect these people to rescue Kaido. At most, they can drive the ship, fire the cannon, or pretend to be powerful to deal with some ordinary soldiers. Either force Kaido out, or get Kaido's handcuffs off, and let him escape by himself. Arceus thinks Kaido can escape by himself. Although he was most likely put on Seaston handcuffs, if the purity of Seaston is too low for the body of the ability user can still use the ability freely. Most of the Seaston is produced from special mineral veins in Wano country, and there is very little outside. Before Kirizumi Orochi sought the position of General, Wano country had always been a closed country with little contact with the outside world. Although Seaston has flowed out, the amount is not large, and most of it is in Pelton. The purity of the Seaston in the branch may not be able to affect Kaido. If the concentration is not enough, he will naturally get away after he wakes up. But just in case, I decided to go there. At present, the cooperation is very pleasant, and he has no intention of changing his partner. Alga has developed Zoroark's ability quite well. It may be because of her personality. She is more proficient in the ability of illusion. The attack system has only mastered a few skills such as Evil Wave, and the race-specific skills of Dark Blast have not been mastered yet. In a sense, this is also a person who has lived for more than 100 years. A little practical training is very necessary. In order to search for the stone tablets in the future, it is inevitable to infiltrate and collect intelligence. It is just right for her to practice, otherwise Arceus would not have chosen Zoroark. The ability of the Phantom Overlord is not to be wasted. Master Holy Beast, isn't it a little early for her? How about I go? Don't worry, if something really happens, I will get her out. You are not suitable for this kind of thing. The ship of the beasts approached the direction of G4. The location of the Sabaody archipelago and the G4 branch base was not far away. They soon arrived nearby at full speed. They waited until dark before Elizabeth and Olga started the infiltration operation. Chapter 53, The Overlord of Phantom. The G4 branch of the Navy. Even at night, the high-power searchlights illuminate the nearby waters. In this era, there is never a shortage of pirates who dare to challenge the Navy. The Four Seas are okay. Except for the incident caused by John, the branches of the Four Seas have not had any problems for a long time. Relying on the sturdy fortresses and coastal defense guns, the branches of the Four Seas can deal with most of the local pirates, but after John's incident, each branch has also strengthened its vigilance. The branches in the Grand Line have stronger firepower because the enemies they face are also very strong. John's incident is a wake-up call to the entire Navy. No one wants to become the next shame of the Navy. Moreover, this incident seems to have stimulated the nerves of some pirates. There are always pirates who want to step on the Navy branch to become famous. The G4 branch has strengthened its vigilance because of this kind of thing. In addition to the high-power searchlights shining on the sea, there are even a few beams of light in the sky. In the past, the Navy would not be on alert in the air, except when facing special enemies. The technology of this world was originally wrong. It can produce war machines like the pacifists, but there are no large-scale airships. The world government is like this, not to mention the pirates. Except for the Golden Lion, no pirate can have a large-scale air force. Therefore, the branch base will not waste manpower and material resources, but under the current circumstances, they have also added a few searchlights to the sky. However, the sparse lights cannot block Elizabeth. Jin also helped them a little. The ability of the Thousand Faces escape is to glide, not fly, so it needs a sufficient height. Jin is the plane for airdrops. Elizabeth's wing membrane flew high in the sky with the help of the sea breeze, bypassed the Navy's searchlights under the cover of night, and landed in the G4 branch. This captain is really worrying. The people on the ship called Kaido differently. Olga preferred to call Kaido captain, Arceus called Kaido by his name, and Shaina and Jin and others called him Mr. Boss and Big Brother from time to time. The newly recruited subordinates were similar. Kaido had not yet standardized the ranks and titles of the pirate group, but even if he did, he would not care. The one who was speaking over there was Elizabeth. After a few months, she had made some progress in learning and successfully mastered a new language, but so far, she could not speak long sentences. She usually just used a few words to express her meaning. The life card was a good thing and would not be easily damaged. The previous text of Spandam had been changed. With this, she could easily find Kaido's location to avoid wandering around the naval base. The ability was activated, and the illusion enveloped the two of them. Zorork's illusion did not change its own form like Ditto, but enveloped itself like a holographic projection. Olga had only a preliminary grasp of the ability. The ability to apply the illusion was very simple. The observation haki could detect her difference, but no Navy would always release the haki in the base. Olga pinched the faces of two passers-by at random. There were so many people in the naval base, and she didn't believe that the people here could know all their colleagues. The next step was to find two people who were alone and replace them. There will be people on the pirate ship to keep watch at night. Such a large base must have patrols at night, and there may be passwords or something. Olga and Elizabeth walked in the naval base, and occasionally there would be problems with model penetration. Although Olga can change her appearance into an adult naval soldier, her body structure has not changed. Her perspective is still the same as before, so she will inadvertently collide with some buildings. The phantom has no entity, and the phantom she created will not disappear directly because of such a collision, so it penetrates the model. The range and ability of the phantom are related to its own strength. Zorork's phantom is so real that it can deceive the camera and deceive people's feelings, and even make Entry, Sukyun, and Reikao unable to break free from the false phantom cage. Quinn has not studied the principle. Olga can't affect a city, but it is still okay for a small range. She and Elizabeth followed a patrol team with a similar direction and let the two people at the end of the team go on the wrong path. Elizabeth, who was lurking on the wall, swung her tail and pulled the person into the corner like an alien hunting. Then Alga made 2 hand cuts after her beast transformation. If you want to fully exert the ability of Pokemon itself, complete beast transformation is the best choice. Although Olga now looks like a Navy soldier, the real body under the phantom is a Blonzor orc. At first, Arceus didn't want Olga to be a combatant. Even if she joined Kaido's group, he could choose to be a scientific researcher in the rear. He meant that Olga should learn technology from him. He tried hard for this, but a genius child may not be a genius. Olga really has no talent in learning, and she would rather train with Kaido than listen to Arceus' lectures. After the hotel incident, she thought that her own strength was more important than the technology in her mind. However, her talent in fighting is not bad, provided that she does not use maces. Bare hands or weapons such as daggers are what she is good at. She and Elizabeth replaced the phantom behind the original team without anyone noticing, and followed the patrol soldiers into the depths of the base. In the prison of G4 base, Kaido was tied up like a dumpling, but this did not affect his sound sleep at all. Looking closely, this place looks like a temporarily converted prison. It was originally just a wine cellar. The barrels scattered around can explain it all. The naval base does not ban alcohol. It is common for Marines on duty to get drunk. Marines on duty can also drink, but the amount is very limited. Cigarettes and alcohol are just necessities in the base. People here need to rely on cigarettes and alcohol to vent their emotions. Pirates appear all the time, and they may die in battle at any time. Vice Admiral Hadara, go and have a rest. You haven't closed your eyes for 3 days. An old man was sitting on a chair in front of the temporary prison. Ever since Kaido appeared here inexplicably, he has been guarding here in person. No, this is a pirate with a bounty of 1.573 billion. You can't deal with him. Don't we have ceased in handcuffs? If he is a person with special abilities, he should be powerless. The purity of the Seaston in those handcuffs is too low, and the total amount is too small. They may not be able to completely restrain him. He is a remnant of rocks. The prison ship sent by the headquarters will arrive tomorrow. When this matter is over, I can apply for retirement when I return to the headquarters. Chapter 54. Do you believe in fate? The flag was set, and his worries were not unreasonable. The purity of Seaston can be adjusted by changing the proportion of pyrobrine. However, this technology is a secret of Wano country, and only the craftsmen of Wano country have this technology. Seaston is extremely hard and difficult to process, and the content of the ore is random. The purity of the Seaston handcuffs in the hands of the Navy depends on the purity of the ore. Since G4 is located in the first half, and the previous base commander is a veritable hawk, he advocates elimination rather than capture, so most of the Seaston handcuffs in the base were taken by him to support brother units. People with special abilities are not cabbages. Many times, you can't meet one for several months, so it is enough to leave 1 or 2 for emergency. Lieutenant General, are you overthinking? This is a naval base. What could possibly happen? Have you forgotten the lesson of the 277th branch so quickly? Lieutenant General, that is a branch of the 4 Seas. This is the Grand Line. We are different from those people, and I have tripled the number of sentries. Lieutenant General, don't worry. However, they did not notice that with the arrival of new soldiers, there were 2 more people in Kaido's prison who should not be there. As for how they got in, this is a temporary prison, and the size is based on Kaido's body size. And Kaido's arms are thicker than Olga's waist. For Olga, the temporary prison built just to imprison him is no different from an undefended prison. However, at this time, she was already sweating a little. The ability of the fruit consumes physical strength. Although her real age is more than 100 years old, her physical age is still more than 8 years old. It is already very good to be able to maintain the illusion for such a long time. She created an illusion that Kaido was still bound, and she gestured to Elizabeth to unlock it. She gained this ability after transformation, and would be affected by Seaston, but Elizabeth was different. She was not affected by the devil fruit. Facing Kaido's chain, a stream of water condensed on her fingers, and then injected the water into the keyhole. With the sound of turning, the chain began to loosen obviously. Relatively speaking, Olga encountered new difficulties. How to wake up a drunkard, waiting online. There are only two ways for her to retreat, either wake up Kaido and let Kaido take them out, or declare the mission failed and wait for Arceus' rescue. In fact, she didn't know that Arceus had an idea. When he found the fighting stone tablet, he wanted most of the beast group to learn the wake up slap to save Kaido from sleeping. Well, sleeping drunk is also sleeping. It is equally effective. She almost pulled Kaido's beard off, and Elizabeth's lock was pried open, but Kaido had no intention of waking up. In the end, she had no choice but to see some remaining wine barrels on the side. Although Kaido looked drunk with the smell of alcohol, he could only fight poison with poison at this time. She walked up to Kaido with a barrel of wine and poured it directly on him. It turned out that this was effective. Burp kid, what are you doing? Do you want to drink too? Kaido burped, then sat up against the wall, looked at the chains on his body with disdain, and then continued to drink. Captain Kaido, can you please be more considerate? This is a naval base, not a place for you to drink. The first official operation was to run to the naval base, and the tension was imaginable, but she had already honed it. She used to be very timid, but she had experienced too many things in the stomach of the Sea King for more than 100 years, including dinosaurs, plant poisoning, gastric acid tsunamis, and man-eating plants. It was not easy to survive. Olga's words seemed to sober Kaido up. Looking at Kaido, who was silent, Olga thought he understood the current situation. Okay, Captain Kaido, the Navy outside hasn't discovered my illusion yet. Let's hurry back to the ship now. In her opinion, it would be better to leave now. After all, there was a whole base of Navy outside, and the duration of her illusion was about to expire. But the next second, she saw Kaido crying, and then she had a bad premonition. After Kaido drank too much, he would either fall asleep or act crazy. This was something everyone on the ship knew, and one of the biggest characteristics of his drunkenness was that he would start crying after losing control of his emotions. The next moment, he threw the barrel of wine in his hand fiercely and smashed it on the fence outside. Ah, I'm really useless. I was caught by the Navy, and I had to ask a trainee to rescue me. Damn it, bastard. He began to smash the surrounding walls. Hey, Captain Kaido, I can't maintain my illusion if you do this. Under Kaido's drunken destruction, Olga's physical strength was no longer able to continue to maintain the illusion. In fact, there was no point in maintaining it, because when Kaido smashed the barrel of wine against the fence, the Navy outside discovered the abnormality. Who are you? How did you get in? Several guns pointed at the temporary prison, and at the same time, several cannons also turned around. For ordinary Navy soldiers, firearms are still the most secure thing. Compared with Olga and Elizabeth, who suddenly appeared beside Kaido, Hadro looked at the chains on the ground, which meant that Kaido was no longer restrained at this time. Illusion. Ability user? Damn it. An unrestrained Kaido will definitely cause great damage here, but to his surprise, Kaido did not seem to have the intention of killing. He grabbed Olga and Elizabeth in one hand, turned into a dragon, and rushed out of the prison directly, and walked away in front of countless Navy. The wine in your base is good. Goodbye, bastard Navy. There is no reason, just don't want to. He does things according to his mood. Last time he caused a lot of damage in the research institute. This time he didn't mean to destroy it, and he brought Olga and others with him. Although Olga's infiltration operation proved her ability, but she is not qualified to face a base of Navy with Kaido. Just because he wanted to leave, it didn't mean the Navy wanted him to leave. The gunner adjusted the angle of the cannon and fired dense bullets at him. Really, you bastards, I want to leave. A thick column of fire spewed out of Kaido's mouth, and the ammunition of several turrets exploded. Looking at the Navy busy putting out the fire, Kaido left here contentedly. When they returned to the ship, they were greeted by a group of younger brothers Carnival. In their opinion, this was the proof of Kaido's strength, but there was one exception: Arceus. The pirates below were still partying, and Arceus found Kaido alone. What's the benefit of doing this? What have you gained besides wasting time? What's the meaning of this behavior? Kaido's face was still drunk, but his eyes were very clear, and he said something that Arceus didn't quite understand. Do you believe in things like prophecy and fate? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. What Fishman Island will fly away? I don't believe it. Oh, no hesitation at all. Arceus made Kaido stunned for a moment. Although he had never told others about this before, most people would still hesitate. No, prophecy and fate are the most illusory things. You can't change the past, and you can't do anything about the future. It all depends on the present. When you know about the future, whether you accept it or not, you should grasp the present. But he didn't say it firmly. After all, the power of time and space is also one of his powers, but that is the power of his heyday. Now he can't change time. And there is no need to change time, unless it is necessary. Who knows what terrible reaction will be caused by doing something in the past decades later. And not to mention this regular power, the psychic system has a bug skill of predicting the future, but this release method only predicts the opponent's action trajectory and sets up an attack in advance where the opponent will appear after a period of time. It is still different from the real power of time and space. After developing the observation color to the point of being able to predict the future, the strong here can also do this. Two people who can predict the future may have only fought for a second on the surface, but their hearts may be like a 1,000-layer cake, going through countless layers of games. Are you thinking about life after drinking? People like you actually believe in the so-called fate. Aha, of course not, so I have to prove that the so-called fate is bullshit. I was born in the kingdom of Woka, where prophecies are very important. At that time, someone predicted that I would die on the battlefield, so I became the strongest soldier in the kingdom at the age of 10, and I have lived well until now. Kaido lay down beside the fence, and even pretended to be a great philosopher. So you went to the naval base to commit suicide? It's not that I didn't die, don't worry, I won't die in a place like this. Even if I die, I have to have a grand enough exit. But you are right, the illusory prophecy is not worth believing. You are worthy of being my partner. Aha. As he said that, he took out a wine gourd from somewhere, and it seemed that he was going to have another meal. When a person is drunk, his behavior is also controlled by his subconscious mind. Kaido's behavior seems to be courting death, but in fact it has been controlled within a range. Whether it was eating and drinking in the prison ship before, or going to the G4 base to drink this time, it was all controlled within the scope of what he could deal with. This place is not too far from Marineford. If he really doesn't want to live, he can just dive into the Navy headquarters, or dive into the sea, or find a devil fruit to eat. On the one hand, it is to express his disdain for the prophecy, and on the other hand, it is also to train himself. It is a good way for the ability users of the mythical beasts to become stronger when they encounter continuous attacks. Some mythical beasts can only truly awaken in the process of being beaten. However, when he raised the wine gourd, he found that the wine and the gourd could not drip down anyway. Don't waste time. If you hadn't been delayed for 2 days inexplicably, we should have finished the coating and appeared in the new world. Wait until you take down the mechanical island before you continue to drink your wine. Kaido's behavior has indirectly delayed his progress in finding the stone slab. The main component of the wine is also water, which is naturally within his control. Forget it, I've already drunk enough, I'll drink next time. He had already drunk enough in the naval base, so it didn't matter for a while. Boys, get ready, we are setting sail for the new world. Oh, the dangers of the new world don't need to be expressed in words, but these pirates are only excited about the unknown future, and there is a hint of excitement in their words. I heard that we have to pass through Fishman Island to go to the new world. Yeah, there are all mermaids there, beautiful mermaids, if we can. Shut up, Big Sister hates that kind of thing the most. Do you want to be kicked by Big Sister? The rules on Kaido's ship are obvious, strength is the truth. He can accept Arceus not letting him continue drinking, and besides him and Arceus, the strongest one at present is Shaina. In addition, Jin is her only one of the same race, and Olga lives with her in addition to studying and training. There are not many women on the ship, and now there are only 4 of them on the ship. Kaido understands the importance of technology, so he also treats Arceus as a special cadre, and Olga is nominally an intern, but she is also a reserve cadre. These younger brothers who were recruited later were not really crew members at all, but more like affiliated forces. In terms of life, Quinn was indifferent and indifferent to life. Jin had a similar attitude, but Jin did not take the initiative to kill, but acted according to the wishes of Arceus and Kaido. Shaina respected life more, except for the enemy, and the same was true for Arcee, so the current rules of the beast pirates were relatively many. Among them, human traffickers, navy, agents of the world government, and traitors were all what Shaina hated the most. At the beginning, these pirates who surrendered were not so obedient, and they also reported to Kaido that Shaina wanted to seize his position as captain. However, he made two mistakes. First, he reported to the wrong person. Although Shaina is now a cadre on the ship, she listens to Arceus. If Arceus plans to leave here one day, she will definitely be the first to respond. Arceus wanted to act in Kaido's name, so he let Shaina join Kaido temporarily. Secondly, Kaido doesn't care about this kind of thing. The solution he gave is very simple. Fight a fight. If he wins, the position of Shaina cadre will be his. Then he became the chicken that was killed to scare the monkeys. Since then, the people on the ship have been much more obedient. As for Quinn's opinion, he has no opinion. As long as he is not at the bottom, he will be satisfied. If he can't beat the top, he can only bully those who are weaker than him. Although he works in an illegal research institution, he is a legal citizen when he is outside. It was not until the dissolution of Mads that he embarked on the road of being wanted. Although the unrealistic thoughts about mermaids were dispelled, this could not stop their fantasy of mermaids, which are the most beautiful creatures in the sea. However, just when they were imagining the beautiful mermaid island, Kaido personally extinguished their dreams. The flame cloud rolled up the huge ship, and the beast pirates flew to the sky. "Captain, aren't we going to Fishman Island?" "What Fishman Island? Of course we will fly directly there." Chapter 56. Feel the greetings from the new world. Fishman Island is located 10,000 meters below the sea. It is the only way to reach the new world. To be precise, it is the only way for ordinary pirates to reach the new world. The Red Earth continent divides the Grand Line into two. As the Red Earth continent, where the world government has the deepest influence, especially with the residents of the celestial dragons Mirajoa on it, the security here is very strong. Illegal pirates are not qualified to pass through here, so they can only take risks and choose Fishman Island in the deep sea. There are submarines in this world, but most pirates can't get this high technology. The only way to enter Fishman Island is coating. But humans are not creatures in the ocean after all. There are countless crises in the deep sea. Whether it is sea kings or submarine volcanoes, they will pose a fatal threat to ships. Once the coating is damaged, it means the destruction of the ship and the death of people. The huge water pressure will kill most people instantly. Moreover, coating is also a technical job. In the first half, only the Sabaody archipelago can find coating craftsmen. There are mixed fish and dragons among them. There are truly skilled craftsmen, and the coating is safe and reliable. There are also unreliable scammers. Their coating is a death countdown, and there is a risk of rupture at any time. It's okay if it breaks right after diving, but if the coating breaks after reaching the deep sea, the consequences are unbearable. Not to mention that there are people with abilities who are not good at landlibbing. Even if Kaido sinks to the bottom of the sea, there is nothing he can do, so he didn't plan to go to Fishman Island at all. Fishman Island is a must-go for ordinary pirates, but he is not an ordinary pirate, but a pirate with large-scale flying ability, just like the flying pirates of Golden Lion. But when Golden Lion personally goes out, he must fly through the sky with his own ship. The same is true for Kaido. Although they can't pass through the Red Earth continent like the Navy and ordinary people, they can fly over the Red Earth continent, but they have to take a slightly detour. They will not fly over Mary Giai's head. In the clouds, the Beast's pirates took a shortcut across the Red Earth continent, and there was a group of pirates on the ship who were disappointed because they couldn't see the mermaids. After nearly a year, they finally arrived at the new world after leaving the institute. Compared with the paradise in the first half, the sea here is more dangerous and the climate is more changeable. The first thing the beast pirates encountered was the thunderstorm in the sky. A real thunderstorm is a special climate with only lightning and no rain. Darkness enveloped the sky, and the sound of electric charges colliding rang out one after another. The dense lightning hit the deck of the ship like rain, making these pirates who had just arrived in the new world extremely frightened. And they also knew what kind of power Arceus, who had a very high status on the ship, had. A beam of light was shot from Arceus to the sky, and the thunder clouds dispersed in an instant, turning this place into a bright sunny day again. The world of pirates advocates the strong. Previously, they obeyed Arceus because of Shaina's force, but now they are impressed by Arceus' power to change the celestial phenomena. I don't know how many times they respect the Holy Beast Master. He had to choose a good time to establish his authority. He was not like Kaido, who had a high bounty, nor did he want to show off his power like a monkey. Now was just the right time. This was also his first time to show his power in front of people. Another thing was that the dense thunderstorm disturbed his rest. As for the transformation of abilities, these people's abilities were not qualified for his transformation. Even Kaido did not bring up this matter. Abilities were reserved for people with strength. These people had to at least hone their skills in the environment of the new world for a period of time, or have some special abilities that were valued. The clearing he used was completely different from the clearing used by Jin. Even the most difficult weather in the new world was not worth mentioning to him. However, as the ship of the beasts left here, the dense thunderstorms filled the sea again. This made the people on a nearby island breathe a sigh of relief. Selling umbrellas was an important source of income for the island. Without this source of income, it would be much more difficult for them to pay tribute. The ship of the beasts soon docked on the island, and they needed to replace supplies, such as the record pointer unique to the new world. Due to the special magnetic field of the Grand Line, the original compass and compass will lose their original functions. If you want to sail on the Grand Line, the record pointer is indispensable. They can capture the magnetic signal of the next island and record this signal. Before arriving here, the direction of the record pointer will not change. So every time you arrive at an island, it takes a few hours to a few months to fill the record of the record compass, so that you can set off to the next island. This is also one of the reasons why Arceus delayed his search for the stone tablet. Sailing on the sea is already very laborious. Once you encounter an island with a long signal storage time, it will be even more time consuming. After all, there are only a few islands with eternal pointers. This is the case in the first half of the paradise, and sailing in the new world is even more dangerous. The magnetic field of the new world is more chaotic than that of the paradise. The previous thunderstorm is a manifestation of this magnetic field. In addition, there are also strange clouds that drop icebergs and even knives. Even if there are no enemies, sailing in the new world is extremely dangerous. The record pointer allows the ship to sail safely in the first half, but after arriving in the new world, the originally reliable record pointer is no longer reliable. But this did not bother the people who made a living on the sea, and the upgraded record pointer was born. It looks no different from the ordinary record pointer, except that there are 2 more dials, and the pointers on it have changed from 1 to 3, so there are more options, and you can choose the safest route from them. The safer the route, the lower the fluctuation frequency of the record pointer, and normal pirates will choose a safer route from it. The islands in the new world all have their own masters behind them. If you don't want to take the initiative to provoke, ordinary pirates will abide by local rules. Even big pirates are no exception. Otherwise it means declaring war. At this time, the beasts did not intend to take the initiative to start a war. They were still in the development stage, so the money that John's treasure had previously exchanged for played a role here. A large amount of supplies were purchased on the ship, including more than a dozen record pointers. This thing is a necessary material for a precautionary measure. In order to prevent damage due to various factors such as wind and waves, a few more spare ones will be stored on the ship. What never changes is the news bird flying in the sky, and their newspapers can always convey new news. Brother Kaido, boss of the Holy Beasts, there is new news in the newspaper. Chapter 57 The Strongest Organization Photographer. Kaido of the Beasts, bounty of 1.6 billion baileys, regardless of life or death. The news they brought was not too shocking, but about the update of the bounty order. Kaido's bounty order was rounded up to 1.6 billion baileys, and his photo was changed with a prefix of beasts. It seems that in the eyes of the Navy, Kaido's escape from the branch base is no big deal. This also has something to do with Olga, because this time Kaido did not escape by himself, but was rescued. Although Olga and Elizabeth just opened a lock, the Navy does not think so. They put a large part of the reason for Kaido's escape on Olga. The reason is simple. Letting a pirate escape from the custody of the branch commander by himself and being rescued by others are two completely different concepts. Although both are shameful, being jailbroken is much better than the prisoner escaping by himself. This is also Hadro's operation. He is a vice admiral who is about to retire and encountered this kind of thing. He is also helpless in his heart. If the coastal artillery had not fired and Kaido had left directly, there would not have been any casualties in the base. It was just that Kaido's hot breath in response to the attack caused them considerable damage. The prisoners in the base escaped, and the base was damaged. The branch chief must of course be responsible for this, so his retirement benefits were reduced from the level of lieutenant general to the level of major general, which was not a big punishment. This was related to his definition of this matter. He defined Kaido's escape as the intervention of external factors. The price was that Olga and Elizabeth also had their own bounty orders. Who is the strongest agent in this world? It is not CP0, which is known as the strongest shield of the celestial dragons, nor is it CP9, which is unknown to ordinary people. Those detectives in the underground world are not even ranked. The strongest is the photographers of the world government and the Navy. The wanted order acquires photos, and most of these photos come from photographers, from small pirates worth millions to monsters like rocks. As long as they are wanted by the world government, no one can escape the photographer's lens. Whether it is the Sky Island in the sky or the Fishman Island under the deep sea, you can always find their figures. They are definitely the best in the world in terms of candid photography. Unless there are some special circumstances that cause the photographer to forget to take off the cover of the camera, no one can escape their lens. Olga and Elizabeth's photos were listed on the wanted list, but these photographers are not omnipresent. At least Olga and Elizabeth's true appearance has not been exposed. It was just Zorok and Thousand Faces standing on Kaido's flame cloud. Although the Navy failed to defeat Kaido, they took the photos. These were not taken by the surveillance Dendenmushi in the base before. Those Dendenmushi took pictures of the illusion released by Olga's ability. Only when Olga was out of energy at the end, she was photographed after her transformation. Because the beasts had not made any big moves before, there was no name on the wanted list. It was just marked as a prisoner, and the bounty for both of them was a uniform 50 million. Olga did not fight head on, and those Navy did not even figure out who had the ability to create illusions. Is it just this little thing? For Kaido, the update of the bounty is not a big deal. He is no longer at the age of being happy about being bountied. No, but the rest is the Navy's business. Admiral of the Navy headquarters, the family of that black-armed Zephyr was killed. As soon as the voice fell, an energy hand composed of evil energy took away the newspaper he was holding. The death of Zephyr's family was one of the major events in Arceus memory. This means a change in the state of mind of a generation of Navy admirals. Although he retained the rank of admiral at the request of his superiors, he has since retreated behind the scenes and became the chief instructor of the Navy. In the following time, he cultivated a large number of cornerstones for the Navy. Fire and water are very inconvenient when taking paper items. The 4 stone tablets gradually perfected his power and made him use various energy hands with ease. Zephyr is really a coward. The news in the newspaper was written in great detail. Zephyr's family was unfortunately attacked. The world government expressed deep condolences. The murderer has been arrested by the Navy and taken to Impel Down. He never killed pirates, but all his family members were killed by pirates. This is what he paid for adhering to the concept of no killing. Moreover, the relatives of the headquarters admiral did not receive adequate protection and were killed by a few unknown pirates, and these pirates were not killed on the spot. This is even more outrageous. Maybe Zephyr offended someone, and thus a conspiracy arose, and Zephyr's position in the world government is indeed problematic. There are so many pirates on the sea, and there is more than one person who can take on the position of Shichibuke. They chose the one who caused Zephyr to lose his arm and his disciples to be killed. This is simply rubbing salt into the wound. Anyone with a normal brain would not do such a thing. Impel Down is a place where people suffer. Everyone knows this, but blood debts must be paid with blood, and only by killing enemies with one's own hands can one's heart be calmed to a certain extent. Zephyr did this because of the regulations of the Navy. He obeyed the regulations to this extent, and he didn't know what to say, except that he was a coward. This is the Navy. Countless rules, the running dogs of the celestial dragons, but the food on the prison ship is really good. Kaido is prejudiced against the Navy and has resistance, which is normal. You can't expect a pirate to praise the Navy. People will always find a more reasonable explanation for their behavior. At first, his resistance to the Navy was not so high until the king of the kingdom of Woka forced him to participate in the world conscription of the Navy. The rebellious psychology determined that he took this path and spent his adolescence on the Rocks ship. At the beginning, this was also a young man with ambition who could question his compatriots why they should be dogs for the celestial dragons and why they should hand over the gold in the sky. The death of Zephyr's family is tantamount to another alarm bell, and it also slapped the face of the Navy. As the highest combat power of the Navy, the safety of his family cannot be guaranteed. For a time, the number of soldiers who signed up for the Navy has decreased to a certain extent. However, this refers to grassroots soldiers. Some talented people saw the chaos on the sea. Some chose to go to sea and become pirates, and some joined the Navy to realize their ideals. By the way, your empowerment abilities also have different strengths, right? Kaido suddenly asked a question after sending his minions to carry supplies. Of course, the ones you see now are the stronger ones. If you insist, Quinn's should be the weakest. After all, his is the most labor saving. What's wrong? Nothing. There are still 14 pieces to find. Remember to reserve a stronger ability for me. Chapter 58. This island is my territory. You can't wait. The cost of transforming you is too great, and with your current strength, it would be inappropriate if you don't transform it strong enough. Arceus thought Kaido wanted to transform himself. Azure Dragon was originally a top-level mythical beast, and ordinary strength was really not worthy of him, and the transformation of a mythical beast species would be more laborious. They already have unique abilities, and adding new abilities, while retaining the original abilities is a technical job. Although Arceus has not yet done anything to the mythical beast species, he has made an estimate using Kaido. If the mythical beast species is transformed, it is not the original transformation, but the addition of abilities. This kind of transformation is reflected in the outside world as a special double fruit ability user. Jin can only transform into a fossil pterosaur now, and cannot transform into a toothless pterosaur. If he is a mythical beast species, then he can transform into both the appearance before the transformation and the appearance after the transformation. No, it's not for me. My current abilities are enough, and I can't just rely on abilities. The blessing of the sword dance is enough for me to use for a long time. I just plan to prepare an ability for my future child. Arceus didn't quite react to Kaido's train of thought, and he was discussing future children. Zephyr's child died, but in the final analysis, it was because his family was too weak. If his child had the power to resist, wouldn't the result be different? It was just a 3-year-old child. I wasn't that weak when I was 3. Anyway, my child can't be like Zephyr. Well, I have to start training early. Help me arrange a stronger ability, like Shaina's. Abilities are divided into strong and weak, and the way abilities are granted is also divided into strong and weak. There is no doubt that Shaina gets the most, and Kaido knows very well that Shaina's ability will not be restrained by sea, stone and water, which is already a huge advantage. Subordinates don't matter, but the best children must be arranged. Let's talk about this after you have a child, but your training method, can a child bear it? Alga is a special case. Don't worry, I know my limits, and my bloodline can't be weak. Then let's do it, but whether the ability is strong or weak depends on this late in the past few years. Don't worry, after occupying the island, we will immediately arrange Quinn to start research. At the same time, we will also start to expand the troops and increase manpower. As long as the thing is not hidden by anyone, it will eventually be found. Little ones, speed up, it's time to set sail. Zephyrs retreat behind the scenes opened the prelude to the replacement of the old and new eras of the Navy, and the world of pirates is the same, and even more cruel. The weak retreat, the strong come on stage, and the forces of the new world are always in a reshuffle environment. The world government announced the cause of death of John and other pirates according to the intelligence it compiled, and emphasized that Prill may have taken all the treasures, hoping to use this opportunity to force him out. However, the fact that the people were not forced out made some of the seas in the new world even more chaotic. The islands in the new world basically have owners. The loss of 3 great pirates means that 3 territories are vacant, and everyone wants to eat this piece of meat. Golden Lion did not participate in this matter because the territories of the 3 people were too far away from him. Among them, Wang Zhi's territory became Whitebird's, and Silver Axe's territory was occupied by Charlotte Linlin. She was the first to act, and chose to take the initiative when Silver Axe had no news. Well, Kaido, you really helped me a lot. Charlotte Linlin is now reading the newspaper in the new territory. The news reported by the world government plus Kaido's previous contact. She doesn't believe that there is no relationship. But now she and Kaido have no conflict points. There is no need to expose this matter. Besides, she has a new plan, to have a child in the near future. As for John's territory, which was left at the end, it was stuck in the middle of several forces due to its special location, so the big forces did not take action, and left it as a buffer zone. Instead, a group of newcomers and pirates without fixed territories started to compete for it. Almost all the surrounding islands have owners, and only the main island has not been determined. Now the pirates nearby are almost divided into 2 factions. One faction is the new stars who have just arrived in the new world and have not realized the cruelty here. Among them, there are also supernovas with bounties of over 100 million. The other part is the pirates who have been here for a long time and have enough understanding of the new world, but their own strength is not enough, and they don't want to join other forces. They can only wander on the sea and have no fixed territory so far. There are both people born in the new world and pirates from the first half and other seas in previous years. Abilities, swordsman, artillery, all kinds of abilities collide on the island and the nearby waters in order to determine the ownership here. At the same time, a third-party force was born. In order to ensure the safety of the islanders themselves, the adults on the island spontaneously formed a guard team. Their strength is average, but this is an island with developed heavy industry, and there is a military factory on the island. The arms business is not uncommon in the new world, and arms are also hard currency here. In addition to ordinary guns and cannons, they even made coastal defense cannons from the military factory. They have gained a part of safe space for themselves. No one wants to have a shell fall on their head when they fight with other pirate groups. But there is not much food on the island. This is a winter island. Most of the food on the island depends on foreign materials. After the battle between pirates began, the transportation of materials around was suspended. The income is not high and there are more risks. Naturally, no one will do this kind of business. To be honest, they are eager to stop the fight between the pirates. And what the pirates are doing at this time is exactly what they hope. Both sides find that they can't do anything to each other. The pirates on both sides began to sit down for peace talks and planned to establish a larger pirate alliance. Together in the cruel new world, they will keep each other warm. Then starting today, our pirate alliance will be established. Before the alliance wine was picked up, a loud noise came from a distance, followed by a series of explosions getting closer and closer to them. The negotiation table was tense, and the pirates on both sides entered a state of confrontation. Ialia, you still won't give up. Don't talk nonsense, meh. I don't need to go through so much trouble to kill you. But no one put down their guns. It was obvious that no one believed what the other said. Even if they came to form an alliance, they were wary of each other. At this time, the door outside was pushed open, and a man stumbled over. Not good, Captain, someone is coming. Before he finished speaking, the half-open door behind him flew out and embedded in the wall behind them. This island is my territory from today. Chapter 59. This is the monster of the new world. The door was broken, and the biting cold wind rushed into the room. This is a winter island, but the winter island is also divided into 4 seasons. But the summer of the winter island is almost colder than the winter of the summer island. The cold wind that penetrated the collar made them shiver. To be precise, this chill is not simply caused by the weather, but also has a lot to do with Kaido. Without entering the dragon man form or the dragon form, but only using the human form, Kaido has already fought here alone. People's actions need some motivation, and Kaido is this type. He is about to have a withdrawal reaction. Because he drank and messed up things at the naval base before, Arceus set a small goal for him. Quit drinking before laying the foundation. At that time, he was still drunk and was discussing what ability his future child should have. He agreed to it in a daze, so that he was almost addicted to alcohol during this period. He may not be trustworthy to outsiders, but he will still take his own words seriously. Although he and Arceus are not in a superior-subordinate relationship, they are also very close allies. Kaido's idea at this moment was to get rid of these guys, then have a banquet, and have a good drink. Before the ship docked, he had already rushed over alone. Although these people fought fiercely here, in the final analysis, it was because the pirates with cards in the New World did not look here. Whether it was the young people who had just arrived in the New World and did not know the height of the world, or the losers who survived in the cracks of the New World, they were all the same type to Kaido, weaklings. Hey, this island is my territory now, who has any objections? This is the place where the 2 groups of pirates formed an alliance, and of course a lot of alcohol is indispensable. We're already here, it's almost done. The agreement between him and Arceus was before occupying this island. Now that he was here, he assumed that he had occupied this place, so it was okay to drink a little. Besides, he did not feel any threat from the people present, so in front of these pirates, Kaido grabbed the wine jar placed aside. He was not blind, and there was a big word wine on it. He raised the wine jar high, as if no one was around, and drank in front of them. The scene was a bit weird for a while, and these pirates were stunned. Finally, this tranquility was broken by a gunshot. Seeing Kaido's Adam's apple moving as the wine entered his stomach, someone raised his flintlock. I don't know if it was because of poor shooting skills or too nervous, but after the gunshot, Kaido was left with only a broken wine jar in his hand, and most of the wine was scattered directly on the ground. This gunshot also became a signal. The next moment, there was a burst of gunfire in the house, and some people even carried shoulder-mounted artillery. Kaido's position was covered by the smoke produced by the gunpowder explosion. Until the ammunition in their hands was emptied, these people finally stopped. Is he dead? He should be dead. People who can catch so many shells can't be crazy like him. But why should we shoot? He came in alone. I don't know. I opened fire after you shot. Some scattered conversations came out, and many people didn't understand Kaido's seemingly strange behavior. But when the smoke cleared, what appeared in their sight was Kaido, who was unharmed. It seems that you don't agree that this island belongs to me, and you also knocked over my wine. Do you know how many days I haven't drunk? The mace was swung out, and the invisible stick energy hit the first person who fired the gun. The broken body flew in the air like a rag bag, and finally fell on the fire in the house. The flames ignited the clothes, and the flesh was carbonized under the action of high temperature. A burnt smell came out, but it quickly dissipated under the cold wind. The pirates present had no time to deal with the dead person, because they were facing Kaido, who was already angry. Whether it was the captain who was high above before, or the minions standing guard at the door, they were all the same at this time. No one could hold on under Kaido's attack. This was the gap in strength. Kaido achieved an alternative equality among these people with absolute force. How could this be? How could there be such a monster? The pirates who asked this question were those who had just arrived in the New World. They had no clear understanding of the New World, and the enemies they encountered at the beginning were still within their understanding. Although it was relatively strong, it could still be killed. But for a monster like Kaido, swords will be broken, and shells will only leave some black ash. Even the arrogant ability users on the ship before will suffer the same fate when facing Kaido's attack. Fear spread among the crowd, and the people around them began to think about escaping. Those near the periphery began to try to escape from this place of death. Kaido did not stop these people. This time he was no longer a lone commander. There was also a group of pirates lying on the ground outside the door. That was the damage caused by Kaido's rush. He ran deep and shallow on the loose snow, turning his head to look back from time to time. He wanted to go to the ships moored in the port, and then leave here, leave this hellhole of the new world. Kaido's physical strength has broken his inherent thinking concept. There is a corner in front, and as long as he turns here, he can see the port on the seaside. Then he bumped into a pillar, and when he looked up, it was not a pillar at all. An alternative Brachiosaurus was standing here, and the place where the ships were originally moored became a mess. Kaido rushed too fast before, completely leaving the rest of the beasts behind, and the rest of the beasts began to deal with the pirates left around. These pirates are weaker than the pirates in the venue, but there are more of them. The biggest role of the cannon fodder brothers that Kaido subdued is to support the scene, or operate the cannons on the ship. They are not much stronger than these pirates in terms of basic combat power, but in terms of high-end combat power at the Kaido level, the pirates here were completely crushed. There is no need for Arceus to do anything. The abilities of the mythical beasts of flame, boulder, and leaf blades caused a devastating blow, and most of the opponent's cannons were also muted. Under Elizabeth's precise sniping, those gunners had no chance to fire at all. Even if they hid in the cabin, the water bullets fired by Elizabeth's sniper were enough to penetrate the wooden boards of the hull. Although for Arceus, a shot of punishment light gravel was enough to destroy all pirate ships, but there was no need. These people were his subordinates, not invited masters. If they couldn't do anything, what would they do? Besides, they had no objection to this kind of thing. For these pirates, fighting was the most normal thing. If you ask who on the whole ship has the most complicated feelings, it must be a C. Chapter 60 Surrender and Resistance. Olga was also mixed in the battle. She didn't fight a ship alone like Shaina did. It was too early for her. She worked with the minions of the beast pirates and practiced with those ordinary pirates. Although she was more than 100 years old, for a sea, time was basically stagnant during the years in the belly of the Sea King. Olga at this time was still the little daughter who had not yet turned 10 years old. This should not be her life, but she had to accept this kind of life. Since the hijacking incident, Olga seemed to have grown a lot. She realized the importance of power and began to desire power. However, there is a price to pay for gaining, and her current experience is part of the price. Arceus felt a little guilty about this. He thought it was all the fault of pure gold. But without pure gold, Olga, who was more than 100 years old, could not survive the heat of the South China Sea Emperor. In the final analysis, it was the result of the person who leaked the pure gold information. He was not idle either. He carried a box of shells to a gunner. Life has become like this, and he has no ability to fight head on, so he can only find a way to help. Use this. Athi is at least a cadre in the Beast's Pirates, and because he is a scientific research talent, Kaido does not allow his pirates to threaten his safety. He is a top chemistry and material scholar. During this time, he has refamiliarized himself with knowledge and accepted the changes in the world over the past 100 years. With the help of Quinn, he modified the gunpowder according to the existing formula to make the shells more powerful. It's just that, since it is in the experimental stage, there are not many such shells. Wow, Brother Athi, your shell is so powerful. Looking at the range of the shell's detonation, the gunner gave a heartfelt admiration. Fire a few more shots in that direction. Pointing in the direction of Olga and giving a few instructions, Athi returned to the cabin. He was just adding to the chaos by staying outside. Although the number is inferior, the firepower is overwhelming, the high-end combat power is overwhelming, and there is a superiority. The pirates who resisted were quickly killed, and most of the remaining ones chose to surrender. The minions of the Beast's pirates also played the biggest role in guarding these prisoners. There were also some pirates who wanted to flee to the meeting place to find their captain. Quinn was just chasing those people, and one of the pirates who escaped back just bumped into Quinn. Attacked from both sides, the pirate alliance that had just been established for less than a few minutes was close to disbanding, but the sound of gliding shells came from the distant sky. A shell that was much larger than a regular shell flew towards this side. For the strong in the pirate world, dealing with shells is not a difficult task. Jin in human beast form flew through the sky. The wings shining with metallic light split the huge shell into two halves. He grabbed the shells that were broken into two halves with both hands and threw them out to destroy the shells coming from behind. The human beast form with modified hands is much more convenient than the ability users of traditional bird devil fruits. After all, their hands will turn into wings when they enter the human beast form. The direction. Isn't that where the pirates are stationed? Yes, Lord Saint Beast, that's where the civilians live on the island. Shaina, you and Jin go and ask them to stop resisting and be gentle with the civilians. After all, this will be our territory in the future. Civilians are different from pirates. They are the original inhabitants of the island. We can't just kill all the people on the island. Besides, we need to develop in the future, and population is the basis of the economy, so we can't treat them like other pirates. Yes, sir. We will take care of it. Jin. Let's go. Two figures, one red and one grey, flew in the direction of the shells and soon disappeared in the sky. Okay, let's see how Kaido is doing. Except for the people who stayed behind to guard, the rest of the people followed Arceus to Kaido. Gabble. Who told you to fire? A conflict broke out in the place where the civilians lived on the island. The cause was that the captain of the guard team fired the coastal defense gun used for self-protection in the direction of the pirates' station without the consent of the village chief. Do you know how much effort I put into getting those pirates to give up the idea of attacking us? Even if you don't care about these things, don't you care about the safety of little Gabriel and your mother? A bearded man was pushed aside, and the village chief blocked the cannon with his body. His tone was full of anger and helplessness. This is an opportunity. Those pirates seem to have a big conflict. As long as we can take the opportunity to destroy them, we will be free. Our food is only enough to last for one day. There is no way to save it anymore. Look at what we have eaten these days. Gabriel pointed to the food in the pot next to him. It seemed to be boiled potatoes and the proportion of water was higher. They have been eating this kind of plain food these days. Gabriel, those are pirates. I know, but we also have weapons. Why don't we stand up and resist them? They are not as strong as John. They will be afraid of artillery, and we have the ability to resist. The goal of civilians is just to survive. Even if there is still a way to survive, most people will choose to surrender. This is why the island belonged to John before. But now the struggle of these pirates is almost forcing them to die. Then he pointed to a few people standing behind him, who agreed with his idea and participated in the bombardment. They are still fighting. Now we still have the strength to resist. If they don't end it in a few days, foreign merchant ships will not approach here. Are we going to starve to death here? While they are fighting to the death, we will catch them off guard. As long as we solve them, this fight will be over. Gabble, you are too young. Those are pirates. They just don't want to be attacked by surprise and compromise with us. You will force them to the same front line. Once they put aside their disputes and want to solve this first, what will you do? In that case, hand me over to calm their anger. But now is our chance to resist. We can't put our hopes on pirates. If that happens, village chief, remember to help me take care of little Gabble and his mother. Those who are willing to resist, pick up your guns and follow me. Then Gabble found that there was something wrong with the eyes of these people. They seemed to be looking at the sky. When he turned around, he saw Shaina and Jin flying in the sky. You were the ones who fired the cannon just now. This island is now the territory of the beast's pirates. We can let bygones be bygones for the shelling. Now, lay down your weapons and stop resisting. Chapter 61. This is a notification, not a discussion. Shaina and Jin in the sky made many people feel fearful. Their beastly faces and flying wings were beyond the scope of human beings in the eyes of many people. The residents of the New World were not necessarily well informed. There were also many weak people in the New World. The more dangerous seas and the battles between pirates from all sides led to more close communication between islands in the New World. The vision of many island residents depends on the level of the occupiers here. Some islands still live in primitive tribal life, where people with special abilities are even worshipped as gods. Although John was a person with special abilities, he never exposed his abilities to outsiders. Moreover, he was also a notorious pirate during his lifetime. Few people invaded his territory. Most people on the island had never seen a few people with special abilities in their decades of life. Moreover, they were just ordinary civilians. It was not necessary for people with special abilities to deal with them. A few ordinary pirates with swords and guns were enough to deter them. People with special abilities were usually carders with their strange abilities. These people had a more important position in the pirate group. As long as the residents in the territory did not have a large-scale rebellion, they would not take action. But whether it is the man called Gabble or the village chief here, they are not unfamiliar with people with special abilities. A large part of the reason why they can become leaders on the island is that they have more knowledge than the people on the island and are more capable of handling things. Are the beasts pirates new here? The war that broke out on the island has lasted for a long time. During this period, the newsbirds have not approached here. Those newsbirds know how to seek benefits and avoid harm, and will not send messages to places where their lives will be threatened if they approach. Therefore, the people on the island have lacked a certain understanding of what is happening in the outside world during this period, and lack understanding of the beasts who have just made some names. Kaido's previous style of doing things did not provoke the navy. He was determined to go to the new world, or the incident of mistakenly entering the navy base after being drunk, which made the new beasts pirates born in the public's vision. According to previous habits, the beasts pirates can also be regarded as a new pirate group. If Kaido's pirate career had not lasted for a long time, he would be a well-deserved supernova among this batch of pirates. Even though they didn't know about the beasts, Gabble and the others knew one thing: there was no beasts in the previous pirate group, and the pirate flag they held was also a new pattern. This island is really full of disasters. If you have the ability to deal with other pirates, we can accept your rule. But we will never lay down our arms. Before the village chief finished speaking, Gabble said this and clenched the pistol in his hand. In his opinion, the safety of the island must not be handed over to an outsider. They must have enough force to protect themselves to prevent the pirates from doing more excessive things. Gabble, shut up. You too. He is not. You seem to have made a mistake. We are not discussing or negotiating with you, but informing you that you have only two choices: accept or be forced to accept. Arceus's request was for them to stop resisting, with the additional condition that the means should be gentler, otherwise their previous firing could be regarded as a declaration of war. But gentle means do not mean sitting down for negotiations, and appropriate force deterrence is also indispensable. So Shaina looked at the giant cannon and kicked the cannon with her right leg burning with flames. The big guy that made the islanders intimidate the previous pirates flew out with this kick. In the cold winter, you can still see the traces of melting on the barrel. The cannon casting technology of this island is really good. No wonder Quinn praised the mechanical level of this island so much. I thought you were holding back. I didn't use my full strength, but it didn't achieve the effect I expected. I thought I could kick the cannon directly to pieces. Jin and Shaina whispered about the technology of this island and the people on the island, except for Gabble, who still insisted. The few people who originally supported him also put down their weapons. Shaina and Jin are not at the same level as the previous pirates, but in Jin's eyes, this is the last thorn. In more than a year, Jin, who has good nutrition, has grown very fast. It is already amazing for ordinary people to grow more than 10 centimeters a year, but Jin has grown more than 1 meter in height in more than a year, which has surpassed the scope of ordinary humans and exceeded the 3-meter mark. Shaina's height change is not that exaggerated. Now it is only about 1.9 meters. Even if they are of the same race, their individual genes are very different. At the age of 15, they still have a lot of room for growth. Although there are many people with exaggerated heights, there are more ordinary people of normal size. Size does not necessarily represent strength, but it means greater deterrence. Moreover, Jin, who is dressed in black, is much more ferocious than Shaina. The fossil pterosaur does not have a mask like the flame chicken. Although the face will change in the human beast form after the transformation, it still has the original characteristics. Jin still chose the airtight special clothing as in the original timeline. Gabble, forget it. Didn't we get here like this before? Yes, this is the same guy as those monsters under John's men. We can't beat them. The people around him persuaded Gabble. Their will was not very firm to begin with, and they decided to stand up and resist under Gabble's persuasion. Such people will naturally retreat when they encounter force majeure in their cognition, especially when Shaina and Jin have left them with sufficient retreat. It is not difficult to accept that an island is ruled by a pirate in the new world. Some people are even willing to pay a high price to enter the territory of some big pirates, which means a safer living environment. For example, Big Mom's territory, 1GUO, the Kingdom of Totland. Although Big Mom has not occupied several islands yet, a basic base has already appeared. Due to the ability of the soul fruit, she requires people living in the territory to pay 1 month of their life every 6 months as a unique protection fee in her territory. Coupled with the irregular attacks of cravings, the main island in her territory is extremely dangerous. Big Mom prohibits people who join Totland from leaving. So far, those who want to leave usually have their lifespans drained, but if you calculate it hard, the survival time in Totland is longer than that in the outside world, because under the protection of Big Mom, few pirates will cause chaos in the territory. The same is true for this winter island. The flame of resistance exists, but most people choose to accept it. If it weren't for the previous fights between the pirates that made these people almost unable to survive, these people would not have the idea of rebellion. Jin's steps will not stop because of their hesitation. At this time, he has come to the front of everyone. There is something else. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, The Gap in Military Strength. Every time Jin took a step forward, the others would take a step back. When Jin walked in front of them, only Gabble was left. It can be said that Gabble represented the last will of resistance. As long as this person is dealt with properly, even if others have the intention to resist, they will be suppressed because of fear or other reasons. According to Jin's idea, the simplest way is to kill the person who dares to resist directly. After all, only a few people are not afraid of death. Under the absolute suppression of force, violent rule is the way many pirates choose. This will leave the seeds of hatred and resistance, but as long as the suppression can be maintained in force, resistance will not be possible. This is not the best method, but it is the fastest way to see results. Except for the Lunarians, Jin is a foreigner to all people. He will not be soft on these foreigners. Arceus' request saved his life. Gentle means are not suitable for direct killing, but if he continues to insist, it may not be the case. Jin's big hand grasped the barrel of his flintlock, and the barrel was twisted into a ball in his hand like a twist. This kind of toy is useless. No one is willing to stand with you. Your resistance will only be in vain. You will not gain anything, except making your family sad. The flames also ignited on Jin's palms. The temperature was not as high as Shaina's, but it was enough to kill one person. Wait. Gabble is the best craftsman on this island. You must have occupied this island for the factory here. If you kill him, no one can reach his level. Looking at Jin, who wanted to take action, the village chief hesitated for a moment, but still stopped him, and gave a very reasonable reason. The munitions manufactured by the factory are the main exports of this island and the target of most of the pirates who occupied this island. Gabble has technology that others cannot reach. This is the only thing that the village chief can think of as a bargaining chip. It is not an easy thing to be a village chief in the territory of pirates, especially since this was John's territory before. The notorious John is not an easy person to get along with. It is useless to reason with him. Only interests are fundamental. I will convince him to work for you. Killing him won't do you any good, right? He didn't have a strong rebellious spirit like Gabble. He just wanted the islanders to live smoothly. It didn't matter who the ruler was. The pirates were all the same. In his eyes, the guns in his hands were not enough to trade with the pirates. What really made the pirates willing to trade was the technology in their hands. Those complicated machines were not something that anyone could use. Besides, most pirates didn't produce anything. They needed enough workers. So the owner of the island changed again and again, but the residents on the island were not affected too much. Who are you? I'm the village chief here. When Captain John was in charge of this place before, I was also in charge of things here. You'd better do this. Now we are here. When the rest of you come, if you still have this idea, you will really die." The atmosphere was almost set off. It was obvious that the village chief was the real manager here. It could be seen from the reactions of the people around him when he spoke. The sound of gunfire from a distance gradually weakened, which meant that all the battles were over, whether in the periphery or in Kaido's place. "The battle is almost over. I'll give you 2 hours to integrate the people here, and then let a few people take us to the rest of the pirates' bases. I'll go with you. I know all the bases of those pirates." Gabble, you. "Don't worry, village chief. They won't be relieved if I stay here, right? Help me take care of my family." The reason why he knew the location of the base was because he was planning the bombardment, so he summarized the places where all the pirate ships stayed. And the reason why he wanted to go was not because he wanted to do anything, but because he didn't believe in these pirates. The reason why the villagers were very resistant to resistance before was because during John's time, all those who tried to resist had a bad ending. Even if they had good skills in their hands, even if the village chief said so, he didn't think Jin would let him go. In this case, it would be better not to drag down his family. Gabble walked out of the safe house in the wind and snow. Everyone thought he would never come back, but 2 hours later, Gabble was brought back in one piece, but he looked a little dazed. Some pirates also sent some food. The food on the island was almost consumed, but those pirates were different. They still had sufficient supplies on their ships. As pirates, they had more material channels than the islanders. After they were defeated, these naturally became their spoils of war. Now that the island has been occupied by the beast pirates, they can't let these people starve to death here. After delivering the things, the pirates left here. They were going to have a banquet. Kaido, who had quit drinking for many days, couldn't stand it anymore. "Gabble, how are you? What did they do to you?" After the pirates walked away, many people surrounded Gabble and touched him randomly. Gabble's dull expression made them think that Gabble was tortured, so he became like this. "I'm fine. I just saw some incredible things." Shaina and the others didn't do anything. They just solved hundreds of pirates and 2 pirate ships in front of him, and then walked back unscathed. The high-end combat power of those pirates had been wiped out by Kaido, and the remaining small fish could not hurt them at all. This also made Gabble realize how powerless his resistance was. The idea of freedom he insisted on was just empty talk. "It's good that you are fine. Village chief, these are all food. It seems that these people are stronger than those before. Let everyone share some, at least we can eat enough today." The islanders had a rare full meal, and the beasts also started their own banquet. As for the pirates, who originally fought for the ownership of the island, they suffered heavy losses, especially the high-level members of the pirate group. Kaido's wine jar was smashed with a little force, and no one present could withstand Kaido's thunderous gossip and anger. When Arceus and others arrived at Kaido's place, the battle was already over. For those pirates, the way they were dealt with was also very rough. The seriously injured were directly killed, and there was no intention to waste medical resources. Among the remaining people, those who were willing to surrender were temporarily accepted as coolies on the island. Those who were unwilling to surrender were directly executed. These people were not worth wasting time at all. Moreover, now is the time for the beasts to establish their own base. In the future, these people will become the grassroots force of the beast's pirates, and these people cannot all be composed of captives. Chapter 63 Slate Radar. In a few days, the island made a simple plan, and the factory that had been shut down for a long time was operating again, but the operation policy had changed a lot. The people on the island voluntarily went to the factory to continue working. Although Kaido is the captain, it is normal for the captain to not take care of things. Usually there is another person in charge on the ship. So far, the one who is best at managing personnel in the Beast's Pirates is Athoi. He used to be the manager of alchemy, and can be said to have more experience in this area. He is not a vicious pirate, so he did not oppress the islanders blindly. Instead, like a normal manager, he offered a certain salary, but the share was less than that outside, and those were counted as taxes that the residents of the island had to pay. and some rules about the island were formulated to restrict the pirates from harassing residents without reason. At first, some people opposed it. This kind of thing is incomprehensible to many pirates, but their opposition is meaningless. Kaido doesn't care about this kind of thing, and Atho's behavior has been supported by Arceus, which indirectly obtained the consent of all cadres. Quinn thought that this matter didn't matter. His interests were not damaged anyway. Arceus was not a stubborn person. He knew that these pirates were not ordinary law enforcers, so he had stricter requirements for the islanders, which could be said to have divided the status of the island. However, the residents of the island did not rebound against this requirement, but were very happy. Compared with the period of John's rule, Arceus' policy was much better. During John's time, they had to go to the factory to work without any pay. They worked to ensure that they could survive. John's territory did not need people without value. Once they could not show their value, John's crew would not issue any food. In Winter Island, this kind of thing is almost fatal. Although the work requirements set by Arceus are also mandatory, in addition to the necessary food, part of the salary will be issued, which is a huge change for the people on the island. As for the captured pirates, their status is lower than that of civilians. In addition to the arms business, there is another business on the island: minerals. Mining is undoubtedly a very difficult thing in the climate of Winter Island, so this kind of work is handed over to those pirates with more physical strength, and it also gives those people in the Beast's pirates a place to vent their emotions, that is, the supervisors of the mines. For these pirates, the policies formulated by Arceus are not so restrictive. Whether it is beating or scolding, there are no special restrictions. The flag of the Beast pirates fluttered over the island, which gave the island some stability. Then, with this island as a center, Kaido began to expand to the surrounding islands, and the policy he implemented was very simple. Pirates who voluntarily surrendered were taken as his subordinates. Among those who resisted, if there were people Kaido liked, he was willing to give them a chance, and the rest were directly thrown into the mines and farms of nearby islands. This Winter Island alone needs to rely on the outside world, but the nearby islands together can form a complete industrial chain, including minerals, manufacturing, food production, etc. Shaina and Jin followed Kaido to fight for territory, while Arceus brought Quinn and Darcy to the factory on the island to study things like slate radar. Do you remember how that thing is made? Arceus looked at the environment here and understood the reason why this island was established. There are factories on every island. You don't necessarily have to choose this place just to make some arms, but this island actually has a very sophisticated machine tool that can process more delicate parts. That's it. This was one of Mads' secret bases back then. This is what we left behind. With this, can you make it? This? I'm not sure. Vegapunk only made an experimental machine, and it's still a semi-finished product, but I know the idea. It will take some time to replicate it. The conductivity of pure gold should be able to meet the demand. I haven't forgotten the method of making pure gold, but there is a problem. I looked it up before. Many materials of pure gold are now contraband. If you purchase a large number of them, it is likely to attract the attention of the government. Mahaha, don't worry about this. The thing that this world lacks the least is the grey industry. Even the world government can't control the underground market all over the world, let alone in the new world. Really? I won't talk about common materials. These are some scarce resources. See if you can get them. Arceus handed Quinn a list of materials. There was no ratio and synthesis method. It was useless to just take this away. He was not afraid of exposing this. When Quinn saw the list of materials, a few drops of sweat fell from his head. Lord Arceus, maybe our plan is not going so smoothly? What's wrong? These materials are too difficult to get. The fresh branches and leaves of the treasure tree Adam, the eggshells of the island turtles. Although these things are rare and expensive, there are ways to find them. It takes some time to find them. The problem is that some materials have long been extinct. More than 100 years have passed since he made pure gold. Many things have happened in this 100 years. The conquest of emperor fever in the South China Sea is a matter of the medical community. But at the same time, many organisms and plants have been declared extinct during this period of time. The manufacture of pure gold is not a simple mineral synthesis, and there are also some animal and plant components. In other words, this ring is the last pure gold? I'm afraid so. Maybe there is still some left in the inventory of the ancient island or some people, but Quinn didn't continue talking. He couldn't do anything about this. He couldn't transform extinct materials. There was a lot of pure gold in the stomach of the Sea King, but he didn't care about it at that time. Now the Sea King should have become food for other creatures. In terms of the weight of pure gold, it has been carried to some place in the deep sea by the ocean currents for so long. Looking for the pure gold is like looking for a needle in a haystack. It is better to look for stone slabs directly. Gather some of those materials and look for them slowly. Try it with what you have on hand first. This news made him unhappy, but he didn't release his emotions to Afi or Quinn. After all, this was an uncontrollable factor. As for using the power of time and space to go back to the past to find materials, when he had the power of time and space, he had already recovered to his peak, so there was no need to do such a thing. With the assistance of Arceus, Quinn and Afi stayed in this laboratory for several months, but the efforts during this period were not in vain. A stone slab radar with a perception radius of about 1 kilometer was successfully built. Chapter 64 3-line operation. A detection radius of 1000 meters. Arceus was not satisfied with this result. This distance was much worse than his own perception range. Afi and Quinn also knew that this result was very ordinary, but they had no other choice. There is no way. Lord Arceus, although you helped us solve the problem of detection fluctuations, the core component of this radar is made of pure gold. Only the characteristics of pure gold can make this device run smoothly. But we only have that little pure gold on hand. Arceus and I have tried our best to extend its size. This is the limit of what we can do at present. A good cook cannot cook without rice. He made the original test machine and improved it. Afi solved the problem of core parts, but without raw materials, there was nothing they could do, even if they had complete technology. This was what they could hand in. Even if they were not satisfied, they had no other choice. In a few months, they not only conquered the technology here, but also found out a lot of things. For example, some materials have disappeared in the world and cannot be found even on the black market. Now, in addition to the stone slabs, the things that the beasts have to search for are also the ancient island. Only the environment of the ancient island has the possibility of survival. During this time, they also tried to fish with the pure gold in their hands to see if the Sea King had the luck to survive. It turned out that it had no such luck. But it was better than nothing. With this radar, at least they could operate 2 lines on the way to find the stone slab. Lord Arceus, in fact, we can barely make a smaller one with the remaining materials. A sensing range of 1000 meters is an ideal value. This value has the highest cost effectiveness. If you want to increase the sensing range after this, you need more pure gold. The remaining pure gold cannot expand the range, but with a little modification, it can probably make a small radar with a range of several hundred meters. Do you mean to delete the specific positioning function and only leave the general sensing ability? Yes, in this way, although it cannot be specifically located, the range is also smaller. A range of several hundred meters can be found at most by digging 3 feet in the ground. At Arceus' suggestion, the 2-line operation was upgraded to a 3-line operation. Arceus was not interested in whether the location could be determined specifically. As long as there was general information, and he was notified, it would be fine. He suggested splitting the first one and making 2 more low-end versions, but due to the ratio of pure gold, it was impossible to split it and make 2. So 2 radars, 1 large and 1 small, became the final products. Where did Kaido go? Brother Kaido, he should be expanding his territory during this period. Almost all the nearby islands are our territory. Axis policy is very effective. The people on the island are very cooperative and their enthusiasm for work has increased a lot. Of course, blindly squeezing will only accumulate contradictions. Even if they don't explode for a while, when they accumulate to a certain extent and our military strength has problems, there will definitely be a fire in the backyard. Use part of the profit in exchange for the sense of belonging of the residents on the island, so that we can better rule an island. By the way, Lord Arceus, Shaina wants to cast a statue for you. What do you mean by? Forget it, I'm not interested in that kind of thing. What about those newly recruited pirates? He was not interested in statues at all. He didn't need things like faith. He was more concerned about the recruited pirates. Compared with the residents on the island, these pirates were the ones who went out to search for information. Even without radar, you might be able to find information about the stone tablet simply by using the number of people, but it depends on luck. Those pirates are not very disciplined, but generally they are fine. Of course, Arcee, you still don't understand pirates. Quinn answered Arcee with the same words. Although he is not good at internal affairs, he knows pirates better. As long as you can subdue them with force, they will obey your orders, even if your will is inconsistent with their thoughts. Your arrangements can be implemented smoothly, thanks to Boss Kaido. You are too good to them. How can you be so majestic? Forget about those miners, but you should be more friendly to your own people. You don't want your subordinates to think about how to rebel every day. Quinn disagreed, but was blocked by Arceus. According to Arceus, he can do whatever he wants to the enemies or prisoners, but for his own people, at least don't treat them as consumables. Even if they are actually consumables, they should be treated as ordinary subordinates. Pirates who don't take their subordinates' lives seriously usually don't have a good ending. Let's not talk about the distant past. John is an example. If he hadn't been so heartless, all his subordinates would have betrayed him, and the result wouldn't have been so miserable. During the war in Wano country, a large number of Beast's subordinates rebelled. If we want to divide the blame, Tama's fruit ability is one aspect. The dango fruit allows her to control animals. The half-baked artificial devil fruit made by Caesar is another aspect. This half-baked artificial devil fruit causes most of the givers to be controlled. If it is a real animal type fruit, it only gives people the power of beasts, instead of transforming people into beasts. As for the remaining problems, the blame may be thrown on Quinn, who is also one of the reasons that prompted those people to rebel. To change the problem from the root is to change Quinn's idea first. After the radar research was completed, they naturally would not continue to stay in the institute, but when they went out, the people in the village, who didn't go to work, saw Arceus and the others and made way, with respectful expressions on their faces, but there was also a hint of fear under the respect. Arcee continued to deal with the internal affairs of the island, while Quinn and Arceus walked towards the sea. Why do I feel that they look at me so strangely? Lord Arceus, you should ask Shaina this question. Although there is no statue, she has instilled the importance of your status in these villagers. If you disrespect you, she will really throw you into the mine to dig. Although it felt a bit strange, Arceus didn't know what to say. What Shaina did was to protect him, and he couldn't criticize others for such a thing. Originally, he planned to wait for Kaido and the others to come back, but when they came out, they happened to see a group of assembled pirates delivering boxes of shells to the bow. What's going on, you guys? Chapter 65. World Destroyer Bondi World. Seeking follow-up reading. Brother Quinn, Lord Holy Beast, are you done? Brother Kaido encountered a group of difficult people, and we are here to deliver ammunition. Kaido has been expanding his territory. For the grassroots pirates, operating artillery is one of their main jobs. They just conquered an island, and encountered new enemies. Their ammunition is a little insufficient. What made Kaido feel difficult? Who did he meet? The World Pirates. The captain is the one called the World Destroyer, Bondi World. The pirate next to him answered the question respectfully, and then took out a bounty from a pile of bounty orders. A man wearing a horned helmet like a Viking pirate showed a slightly honest smile on the bounty order. World Destroyer Bondi World. Bounty of 200 million baileys. Looking at this bounty order, Arceus remembered something. Although he couldn't remember the details, this was also a big pirate active on the sea, but the bounty was a little unscientific. These days, the bounties for big pirates in the New World are basically above 1 billion baileys, especially the remnants of rocks. Although the incident of rocks was something that the world government and the navy wanted to conceal, rocks still buffed these remnants invisibly, and the world government had a very high bounty for them. And Bondi World's record included Whitebird, Golden Lion, Roger, and the fleet led by Zephyr, before he retreated behind the scenes. Of course, there was some water in these battles. Close combat for 3 days and 3 nights was also called a fight, and firing a few shots from a distance was also called a fight. In most cases, he fought briefly and then withdrew. If these people were defeated by him, his bounty would not be so low, and he would not be able to sail for so long. I'm afraid that the government would give him the same treatment as rocks and mobilize heavy troops to eliminate him. But no matter what, he still galloped on the sea after fighting with these strong men, which already shows his strength. The reason why the world government gave him the name of World Destroyer is because he is a threat to the order of the world government. Navy warships, powerful pirates, and innocent residents are all his targets of attack. His existence seems to be for destruction, and his purpose cannot be found at all. Why is the bounty on this guy only 200 million? I seem to have heard someone mention it in the research group. The government seems to want to downplay this person's existence, so after he entered the new world, his bounty has never been increased. The world government does not mind that the pirates on the sea maintain a certain balance. What they hate most is those who try to break this balance. Rox was one of them. Unlike other pirates who occupy a piece of territory and become local snakes, Wald destroys aimlessly. Relying on his ability of multiplication fruit, he can increase the size and speed of the shells by 100 times, so that the firepower of his pirate ship is stronger than that of a navy fleet. In addition to his irregular destruction, not only the navy hates him, but even the pirates don't like him. Such pirates can easily cause panic among the people, so the world government stopped the increase of bounties. Moreover, Wald is not a remnant of rocks. His reputation has only arisen in the past 2 years, and he has no background bonus. As long as his bounty is not further increased, more pirates will challenge him, causing the pirates to consume their strength in internal strife. Many pirates want to become famous, and the best way to become famous is to step on the corpses of others. There are very few fools who challenge the billions of pirates at the beginning. The bounty of 200 million for Wald is just right in the new world. Quinn, what year is it this year? 1491 in the Sea Circle calendar. Any questions, Lord Arceus? After working for several months, the time has come to 1491. His bananas have grown again. This time he did not eat them, but planned to find a suitable place to cultivate new bananas. Nothing. Let's go and see how Kaido's battle is going. He remembered that the reason why Bondi Wald was imprisoned was because a large number of CPs were mixed into the ship, and it was besieged by pirates and the navy. Calculating the time, it was about this time. Arceus and Quinn boarded the material transport ship together and headed to the battle in the distant sea. The battle between Wald and Kaido continued. At this time, Wald had not experienced 30 years of freezing, and his physical condition was still in its prime. When the power of the multiplication fruit was attached to his body, his speed could reach the extreme. According to Borsalino, who was still a new recruit in the navy at that time, speed is power. After he doubled himself, even Kaido would not be able to gain much advantage in a head-on confrontation. At this time, Kaido was already in the form of a human beast, fighting with Wald, who was wearing full body armor. The battlefield around the two had been completely cleared, and the ground was full of cracks and big pits. It seemed that they could not tell the winner for a while. However, it can be seen that Wald was a little distracted. Now he can still be on par with Kaido, but in the battle between the two pirate groups, the Wald pirates were already at an absolute disadvantage. The gap between the carters was too big. Due to the lack of ammunition, the artillery on the ship of the beast pirates had basically been silenced, but the artillery on the side of Wald could not cause any effect. All the shells were blocked in the sky by Shaina. Under the cover of Shaina, the ship of the beasts was approaching. Without ammunition to keep a distance, it could only be hit unilaterally. In this case, it was time to move over and start a boarding battle. At this time, on Wald's ship, a small man was holding a den mushi and erecting the battle. Bondi Banjak, Wald's elder brother, is weak and sickly compared to Wald's strong physique. He has no fighting power at all. He is a vice captain and staff officer on the ship, and he arranges the specific actions on the ship. He usually sits on Wald's shoulders, but when facing a strong enemy, Wald will not take Banjak with him. Retreat. Keep your distance. Don't fight them in close combat. They are short of ammunition. Try to make the most of our firepower advantage. Sebastian. Find a way to get rid of that ability user. A person with an ability completely block their firepower advantage. Sebastian is a carder on Wald's ship. He is a fish giant of the scorpion fish. He is huge because he is a hybrid of a fishman and a giant. He was blinded by the battle, but his observation color made up for this deficiency. After Banjak's order was issued, Sebastian planned to use fishman karate to attack Shaina in the sky. However, things did not go as smoothly as he thought. The ship suddenly shook, and a large number of stone spikes pierced the deck. Jin had already broken through to Wall's ship. Chapter 66. Where do all these mythical beasts come from? The surrounding pirates quickly shot at Jin with guns. In many cases, muskets can have unexpected effects. Many strong men finally fell on that inconspicuous bullet. However, when facing people who are prepared and have sufficient physical strength, bullets generally have no effect. The wings behind him blocked in front of him, shining with the light of metal. The wings strengthened by the steel wings blocked the dense firepower of those pirates. Haki needs to consume physical strength, and abilities also need to consume physical strength. Although Jin is a Lunaria tribe and transformed became an ability user, he has abundant physical strength, but not unlimited physical strength. It is also very important to reasonably distribute physical strength in battle. Then Jin stomped on the deck with one foot, and a row of sharp stone spikes extended from his feet, sweeping away the surrounding pirates, and many were directly pierced through the body by the stone spikes. Rocks that appeared out of thin air, dragon-like bodies, these characteristics combined. For ordinary people, there is only one understanding, the ability user of the mythical beast. There are already 3 mythical beasts. Where can they find so many mythical beast devil fruits? Looking at Jin who was killing everyone, Banjak's forehead was sweating a little more. Kaido who was fighting with Wald, Shaina who blocked all the shells in the sky, Jin who broke through to the ship. The 3 different mythical beast abilities made him very confused. Why did the mythical beasts, which were known to be rarer than the natural system, appear in such a large number at this time? But he no longer had time to think about such meaningless things. No matter how the beast's pirates got these abilities, it was a fait accompli. What they needed to do now was to fight. Jin, who had cleared the surrounding soldiers, did not continue to destroy the artillery on the deck, but rushed towards the direction of the rudder. Not good. His target is the power room. Guiram. Stop him. Sebastian, go find a way to deal with that woman. At present, the ship of the walled pirates was pulling with better power and sufficient firepower. Although the beast's ship guns were more powerful, they had run out of ammunition, so they were approaching them to try to start a boarding battle. Banjak didn't want to waste the advantage of firepower, so the 2 sides have been circling around this sea area. If Jin destroyed the power device and waited for the other side to rush up, then the original advantage would be gone. Guiram, the shipwright of the walled pirates, is also a fighter on the ship. He and Sebastian are the 2 cadres with the highest combat effectiveness on the ship. Although they performed mediocrely in 3D2 according to the timeline, this has a lot to do with a change of mentality. The power of domineering can be said to be the power of the heart. The young Moria dared to fight the young Kaido head on, but after all his partners died in the battle, his mentality changed drastically, and he became a fat otaku who simply relied on zombies and fruits. His strength was much weaker than when he was young. Crocodile dared to challenge Whitebird when he was young, and had fought with Barrett, but after experiencing a huge setback, his mentality also changed drastically, and began to look for the legendary Pluto, and finally lost to the Straw Hat. It took a while for him to be sent to the Impel Down Gate to recover, and it became a 50-50 match of the year, and anyone could beat him. The walled pirates at this time are much stronger than those 30 years later. At that time, not only did Wald's strength drop greatly due to long-term freezing, but even these cadres also suffered from old age. In addition, Wald had a grudge against his subordinates who abandoned him at the beginning, and the combat effectiveness of the walled pirates was greatly weakened. However, the world government still bypassed the navy and directly summoned the 7 warlords of the sea. The navy headquarters was also led by a canoe to show its importance. The walled pirates at this time are much stronger than they were back then, both the cadres and walled. As soon as Banjak finished speaking, a man carrying a square sledgehammer and even his hair was tied into 2 square pigtails rushed out of the crowd and slapped his hands directly to the deck. Cube space. Rays of light appeared on the deck, and the deck split into cubes, directly blocking Jin. He is a person with the ability to eat the superhuman cube fruit, which can turn any object into a cube and move and combine them. However, Jin has the ability to fly, which makes his cube space lose most of its effect. Air cube. He threw several cubes, made of compressed air at Jin, and the cubes exploded when they approached Jin. The surrounding pirates could not help at all. Under Jin's indiscriminate attack, the surrounding artillery was silenced, which indirectly reduced Shaina's pressure to block the shells. In the battle, Jin's flames ignited the sails. His flame temperature was not as high as Shaina's, but simply igniting something was enough. After they put out the flames, the sails were almost damaged. Although this ship was not driven by wind alone, without the sails, the sailing speed was also slowed down by the naked eye, and the ships of the beasts were getting closer and closer to them. Shaina in the sky formed an airtight barrier by herself. No shells could pass through her defense line, but a sense of crisis suddenly arose in her mind. She instinctively tilted her body, and then several boulders passed by her at an exaggerated speed. Her wings were accidentally hit by a stone, and the height of her flight was much closer to the sea surface. Sebastian, who had just dived into the water, also took the opportunity to emerge from the water. Attacker same. The shark formed by the current appeared with his figure. Although it failed to hit Shaina, the rolled up sea current enveloped Shaina. He also rushed up with his weapon. Although the ability users are powerful, the sea water is your natural enemy. Your fire is nothing in front of the sea. The sea water is the home of the fishman, even if he is only a half fishman. After releasing attacker same, he used the fishman jutsu to roll up the waves, trying to roll Shaina into the sea. However, the faster he rushed up, the faster he flew back. The huge impact force directly hit him back to the bottom of the sea. When he floated up again, there was still a charred scar on his shoulder. Is the water not enough? He thought that the amount of seawater he rolled up was not enough to make the other party enter a state of powerlessness, but he didn't know that this behavior had angered the other party. I hate the feeling of being wet the most. Shaina was wet all over, but the look under the mask was a little unfriendly. At the same time, her flying posture is a bit strange. The sudden flying stone affected one of her wings, and now her flying posture is very strange. Although Crocodile's problem is caused by the setting that he did not have Haki in the early stage, I think this explanation is still feasible. Chapter 67 Spear and Shield. Sebastian's body in the seawater gradually became illusory, and finally entered a state of invisibility, and dived into the water, sneaking at Shaina in the sky from all angles, and the two entered a contest of observation. However, he also successfully delayed Shaina. If Shaina ignored him, he would probably attack the beast's ship directly. If they lost power now, they would become a living target with insufficient ammunition. He tried to do this before, but was stopped by Shaina. Only Jin went to carry out the assault operation, which was to prevent the fish giant from destroying their ship. Shaina hated water, but was not afraid of water, so she stayed to protect the ship, and Jin went to destroy the enemy's ship. Sebastian had tried to destroy the ship before, but he was always stopped by Shaina halfway. Even if he approached from the bottom, Shaina's flames would stop him when he approached the bottom of the ship. The power of the flames would be affected by the seawater, but her destruction and death ray was enough to attack the target in the seawater. After a long period of training, the stiffness time after she used the destruction and death ray was almost negligible. After several unsuccessful attempts, he followed Benjak's instructions and returned to the ship of the walled pirates and started this kind of kite war. Benjak didn't expect Shaina to be able to block such dense artillery fire, so he sent Sebastian again, and it was enough for him to make Shaina unable to free her hands. You go full speed. Just rush up and you'll win. While capturing Sebastian's position with her observation haki, she also gave orders to the people behind her. When the opponent had slowed down, the ship of the beasts had the ability to catch up. Leave it to us, big sister. The little ones, go full speed. Boss Kaido said that the person who performs best in this battle will have a special reward. If Sebastian wanted to evacuate, he could do it. As long as he dived into the deep sea, Shaina would not be able to do anything to him, but every time he wanted to destroy the ship of the beasts, he would be stopped halfway, and his attack was not enough in front of Shaina. The people of the beasts pirates also made a concerted effort at this time. The ramming horn of the bow successfully hit the ship of the walled pirates, and a tragic boarding battle began. However, compared to this side, the battle on the island is the key to determining the outcome of the battle. At this time, Kaido was very angry because not long ago, Wald actually attacked Shaina in the sky in front of him. The boulder that hit Shaina before was the gravel that Wald strengthened with his ability. After the speed and strength were doubled, Wald threw the stone and still caused Shaina a lot of trouble and also relieved Sebastian's pressure. But this is a provocative act for Kaido. He actually intervened in other battles during the battle with him, and he succeeded. You bastard really underestimated me. I wanted to recruit you, but now it seems that you should die. Thunder Bagua. Kaido in the form of a human beast raised the mace in his hand and smashed it towards Wald's head. Recruit? Are you kidding me? I'm Bondi Wald, multiplied 30 times faster. With the fruit's ability acting on himself, Wald's speed was even better than before, and at the same time, his strength was also stronger. With a strong domineering aura, Wald, who was covered with armament haki, turned into a little black man and punched Kaido's head directly. He thought Kaido would definitely return to defense and would not choose to take this punch head on, but Kaido did not use any defense, as if he was exchanging injuries for injuries. The multiplication fruit would not increase his defense, but he thought that his punch was more powerful than Kaido's. Since Kaido wanted to do this, he would let Kaido know what the consequences would be. The mace hit Wald's face. Even though he was covered with armament haki all over his body, he spat out a mouthful of blood under this blow, and there were also a few teeth in it. On the other hand, Kaido had a smile on his face. Wald's fist did not hit him at all, and was blocked by an invisible barrier in midair. Although it is quite tiring, this ability is really useful. Rising Dragon Bagua. Kaido twisted his body and swung his mace upwards, knocking Wald out directly. When Wald got up again, the horn helmet on his head had disappeared. He rolled awkwardly to avoid Kaido's combo. Every collision between strong men is crucial. Now he has entered Kaido's rhythm. After being hit by 2 sticks in a row, his mind was in chaos, and he felt dizzy. The mysterious force that blocked his fist also made his wrist swollen. The force was mutual, and the unknown object almost bounced back all the power of his fist. The ability of the mythical beast species is really willful. He didn't expect that Kaido actually had a barrier type skill, and the 30-fold multiplication could not break the barrier. And this is not Kaido's ability, but Arceus' ability. Arceus taught Kaido 2 skills in total, one of which is sword dance. Kaido's attack power is even better with sword dance. It can be said that this is his spear. The barrier just now is the shield he taught Kaido, which can be called absolute defense. The consumption is greater than that of sword dance, but the effect is also more significant. Wald's full strength attack can't even make the barrier generated by the guard shake at all, and the recoil force also caused some damage to his wrist. In addition to the failure of continuous release, the guard is more powerful than the barrier fruit that requires specific gestures to activate in some aspects. Double 20-time shotgun. Wald grabbed the gravel on the ground, doubled it and threw it at Kaido, and then the gravel was blocked by the sword shadow formed by Kaido's sword dance. After several months of development, he has been able to skillfully integrate domineering into sword dance. Not only can he move when releasing it, but he can also defend at a long distance while releasing it. After the sword dance, Kaido's mace ignited dragon flames, and the thundering gossip hit Wald again. The balance of victory completely tilted towards Kaido. On the ship of Wald, the 2 sides were completely fighting each other. Shaina could occasionally assist from a distance. Sebastian had no way to completely restrict Shaina's actions. At most, he could hold her back so that she could not participate in the battle. Moreover, as time passed, her strong recovery ability allowed the injury on her wings to gradually heal itself, and he soon could not do this. The battle on the ship was very fierce, but some people were hiding in the corner and making phone calls. Moshi Moshi, sir, the situation has changed. The Walled Pirates and the Beast's Pirates are fighting fiercely. I'm afraid that they will not be able to enter the ambush area within the expected time. Chapter 68, Quinn, who is only handsome for 3 seconds. Please read. There are many pirates on the sea, and some are stronger than Wald, but the world government has recently made similar plans for Wald. The reason is simple. Wald's behavior is too harmful to the world government. He is not like other big pirates, who maintain the alternative stability of a sea area like a warlord. The scope of this world is very large, and each member country needs the power of the navy. Although the overall strength of the navy is very strong, it has to be distracted by the whole world, and has to divide a part of its power, to serve the celestial dragons. As for the power of the world government, they have always been laissez-faire about such things. Whether the big pirates in the new world exist or not does not affect the operation of their rules. The annual Xianshangjian is collected as usual, and the pirates can help them divert conflicts. Even in the commercial activities of these big pirates' seas, the world government is also a beneficiary. Slave trade, arms trade, and other grey businesses cannot be separated from the existence of pirates. As long as it is not a major event that shakes the foundation of the government, the world government will not interfere too much, but only maintain the balance in its own eyes. Many things are troublesome for the world government, but as long as they do not involve the mysterious D family and Joy Boy, they are not big troubles. Rox has gathered too much power, and he has the idea of subverting the world. His name also contains the mysterious letter D. These reasons together are the reason why the government took action. Garp also has a D in his name, and now he is firmly in the position of a naval hero. As for Wald, although there is no D in his name, his actions have no meaning for the balance of the world government. The purpose of his voyage has long been deteriorated. At first, he wanted to take his elder brother to see the world, but in the process, he lost himself in power, destroying and overthrowing the current world government. Pursuing the highest freedom became his goal. Wald does not have a large territory and fleet, and it is an indiscriminate attack. Pirates, navy, civilians, no matter whose ship they belong to, will be attacked by him. Such a person is naturally included in the exclusion list by the government. The reason why Wald appeared in this sea area is to build a powerful cannon. With this super cannon and his ability, he believes that it is enough to subvert the world. His subordinate Guiram has a good talent in machinery, and the design drawings have appeared, but they need the technology of Kaido's island to make it, and they also need a lot of special materials. These plans had already been reported to the world government by the spies on the ship. According to Wald's voyage, if he wanted to obtain those materials, he would have to pass through a sea area after a period of time. At this time, the navy had already set up an ambush near that sea area, but there were too many changes on the sea. The leader of this sea area suddenly became Kaido, and he also fought with Wald, which completely disrupted the original plan. Act according to the situation. Don't reveal your identity until it is necessary. Report the battle situation at any time. Yes, I understand. Although the battle between Kaido and Wald is an opportunity, there is no intention to send troops to take the opportunity. This is why they ranged an ambush halfway. The territories nearby belong to Golden Lion and others. If a fleet is sent in rashly, it may break the current balance. The world government does not want to start a war rashly. They will wait until the battle between the two pirates is over, and then send corresponding personnel according to the battle situation of both sides. There is more than one agent who sneaked into Wald's ship, but an elite team. They disguise themselves as miscellaneous soldiers on Wald's ship. The Carders will not intervene in low-level battles before solving their opponents. It is still very simple for them to fish. Animal-type ability users are not afraid of protracted battles. The longer the time drags on, the more advantageous it is for the animal type. Their strong recovery ability can even make them more courageous. Sebastian is a hybrid of fishmen and giants. In addition, the home advantage brought by the ocean allows him to avoid most attacks. Moreover, Shaina and he have always been in a state of wandering and fighting, so his physical strength is still sufficient. But Guiram, who is fighting with Jin, is different. His fruit is not strong in frontal combat. The flames behind Jin are very fierce, which means that Jin's own defense has been fully pulled. The rock type's thick skin and flesh make it difficult for his attacks to work. Moreover, Guiram had to fight Jin head on. After the beast's ship had approached, he no longer had the need to continue attacking the power room, and instead set his target on Binjak. He was too eye-catching standing on the bridge to command the battle. As the commander on the ship, the combatants must protect him, not to mention that he is Wald's elder brother. The ship's doctor, Nakin, has also joined the battle. The two of them together slowed down Jin's steps. Nakan is the only female carder on the walled ship. She is good at using the Chinese medicine boxing she researched, and occasionally sprinkles some medicine to interfere with the enemy. Originally, the battle here could continue for a while, but the reinforcement of the beasts have arrived. Mahahaha, taste the power of your Uncle Quinn. Dense rain of bullets fell from the sky, and a large number of members of the walled pirates fell one after another, but some of the beasts were also shot. This is not Quinn's indiscriminate attack. Under Arceus' repeated requests, he will still pay attention to such things, but now the two sides are in a melee, and accidental injuries are inevitable. From the overall benefit point of view, Quinn's attack solved most of the enemies, and his own people were only injured. Compared with letting them continue to fight, such casualties are smaller. Quinn's human body modification technology has always been outrageous. Originally, he had a machine gun installed in his mouth, but after obtaining the ability of the tropical dragon, he modified it, removed the original ammunition supply device, and replaced it with a special barrel. Through this special barrel, he can increase the power of his seed machine gun, and can also add special toxins to the bullets fired by the seed machine gun. This time, due to the fear of accidental injury, he did not use poison, but he could carry out unlimited fire suppression while flying in the sky. It's Boss Quinn. Our reinforcement have arrived. Charge. The ships that appeared in the distance and Quinn in the sky completely reversed the situation of the battle. The morale of the beast's pirates was greatly boosted, and the walled pirates were defeated, and gradually began to lose control of the ship. That's right, that's it, everyone, come on. Quinn in the sky laughed wildly, but he was only handsome for 3 seconds, and a heavy punch hit him directly in the face. Walled, who was originally fighting with Kaido, suddenly appeared here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, The Defeated Walder. Please read. Quinn's huge body suddenly fell down and hit the ship of the beast's pirates. The side of the ship did not stop his huge body, and the whole person fell directly into the sea. This waste. You guys, go and pick him up. Yes. Quinn left the scene at a faster speed, which made Jin, who was fighting on the ship, very speechless. He could only let the people around him pick him up. After all, he was a superpower and could not swim. He was also in the battle and could not free his hands. Fortunately, the beasts are now in an advantage, and it is no problem to separate a few people, and Quinn also has a little to do with this advantage. It just so happens that the pirates who have freed up their hands, because Quinn has solved the enemy, can go down and pick him up. Except for superpowers, there are almost no pirates who can't swim. Swimming is a compulsory course for making a living on the sea, and the only person who can knock Quinn off the sea with one blow is Bondi Wald himself. The battle between the carders on the ship came to an end, and Jin looked at Wald in the sky with some vigilance. That is the skill of the moon step. Wald didn't know where he learned this skill. His condition was very bad. One of his eyes could not be opened due to swelling. The armament color attached to his whole body had also dissipated, which was a sign of physical exhaustion. Although he was panting, Jin had no intention of relaxing. A lean camel is bigger than a horse. Even if a pirate like this monster is on the verge of death, it is possible to burst out a final blow. Judging from the fact that he knocked down Quinn with one blow, although his condition was bad, he had not lost his fighting power. The most critical question was that Wald appeared here again. So what happened to Kaido, who was fighting with him? However, Kaido, who followed closely behind, dispelled Jin's doubts. Hey, don't run. I just had a great time. I haven't met an opponent worth fighting with all my strength for a long time. He didn't do much when he was with John before, but just sat back and reaped the benefits. John didn't encounter an enemy of this level again. If he didn't have the skills to defend this bug level, he would have to spend a lot of effort to deal with Wald at this time, and it might take several days and nights. Although Kaido had just suppressed Wald, at this level, if the opponent wanted to run, it would be very difficult to keep him. Not long ago, Wald fainted and applied the maximum multiplication and 100 times speed to himself, breaking away from the battle with Kaido. In this case, Kaido could not match Wald in terms of speed. Wald's physical condition could no longer withstand the second multiplication and 100 times speed. The reason why he did this was that he was not sure whether it would be blocked by Kaido's defense if he used it as an attack, and secondly, he found the disadvantages of his subordinates. Now he has not experienced betrayal and still has some feelings for his subordinates. If he continues like this, even if he can defeat Kaido, his pirate group will no longer exist, including his eldest brother. So he made the decision to retreat. After years of getting along, Jack also understood what Wald meant. Sebastian, come back soon. Guiram. Emergency plan. Kaido didn't know what Jack's emergency plan was, but he would definitely not let him get his wish. His body was on fire and he crashed directly into Wald's ship. Defense, fire dragon torch. A protective barrier was attached under the flames. With the indestructible nature of that barrier, there was no reason why it could not be used in the attack. Seeing this, the people of the beasts ran back to their original ships, and Jin quickly left the battle to evade. Facing the giant dragon that crashed down, Wald had no place to retreat. I'm Bondi Wald. Doubled. 100 times faster. His body could no longer withstand the addition of this intensity. This increase in intensity was also a burden on the body, which was one of the reasons why he practiced the addition of full body armed color. Facing Kaido's attack, he had already overdrawn his body. Before he even made contact, his skin had multiple cracks, and blood was flowing from his mouth and nose. The fist collided with the huge dragon head. After a stalemate, Wald was shot down as the final outcome, but he also successfully blocked Kaido's attack. When Kaido was about to continue, Wald's ship underwent a huge change. In the brief fight between Kaido and Wald, Sebastian had already returned, and Guiram directly activated the cubic space, and the hull instantly decomposed and reorganized into a new structure. Double 50 times the speedboat. The ship's engine ran at full speed, and it rushed out at an exaggerated speed. In the blink of an eye, only the white line left by the ship was left on the sea. This was Jack's emergency plan, and also the retreat plan of the Wald pirates. Guiram used his ability to strengthen the hull structure so that it could withstand the burden brought by acceleration. After that, the engine was overloaded, allowing the ship to break through to a safe area. However, the disadvantage of this was that it could only go in a straight line and would cause irreversible damage to the hull. Even the ability of the Golden Lion could not stop Wald. Relying on this ability, he could always break out before the Navy's encirclement closed, which made more and more people hate the Wald pirates. If there were fewer people, they couldn't beat them, and if there were more people, they couldn't keep them. But he was very strong and keen on destruction. Looking at the fleeing Wald pirates, the people under the beasts looked at each other in bewilderment. Is this considered a win? What nonsense are you talking about? Of course we won. Guys, let's get ready for the banquet. Kaido, who had turned back into human form, reprimanded his men dissatisfiedly, and at the same time, found a reason to hold a banquet. Although there were casualties in the battle, these pirates were used to it. How could there be no pirates without death? They would feel sad, but they would not indulge in sadness. Banquets are always a good place to vent emotions. There were no casualties among the Kadas, but they were physically exhausted. The one who looked the worst was Quinn, who fell into the water. He was too heavy, and a group of brothers spent half a day to pull him up. Arceus' supply ship also came over, but it seemed that the supply would not be used for the time being. It's been several months, and you finally got out of it. Is that thing made? It's made. I'll tell you slowly, after you finish the banquet. Now I told him that I would have to emphasize it again after he sobered up, so Arceus did not waste time. On the other side, the Wald pirates also evacuated to a safe distance, but compared with the Beast's pirates, their condition was much worse. Wald fell directly, and several Kadas were also seriously injured. Just when they wanted to rest, a burst of gunfire came, and the seriously injured Wald had several more bullet holes on his body. What are you guys doing? Chapter 70 The Betrayer. I don't know when a few more men in black appeared on the ship, and even many of the remaining crew members stood on their side. The walled pirates were actually split into two factions at this time. The leader was a member who had just joined the pirate group some time ago. We have been getting along well during this period, but unfortunately, we are not your companions. Point the gun. After firing a few more shots at the fallen walled, the men breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that he would not suddenly get up. The situation suddenly changed. The order from above changed from lurking the walled pirates and leading them into an encirclement to acting according to circumstances and seeing if they could capture the seriously injured walled. This is an opportunity. If they wait for his injury to recover, it is likely that they will have to pay a greater price to capture him. After observation, the lurking agents on the ship believed that the walled pirates had entered a rare period of weakness at this time. The captain was seriously injured, and the two cadres, Gairam and Sebastian, who were mainly responsible for the battle, were also injured and had serious physical exhaustion. The only one who was intact was Benjak, who had little combat power. That's why they launched the rebellion in advance. Arseholes. You actually let the world government's agents on board. What's your reason? You've been on board for a long time. Aren't we partners? Benjak's tone was full of desolation. The newcomers were agents, so their actions were very reasonable, but the remaining people even had their original partners and crew members who had been with them for many years. They actually chose to rebel and pointed guns at their partners. I'm sorry, Brother Benjak, but Captain Wald is crazy. He actually wants to destroy the world government. How can such a thing succeed? And the rest of the word seemed a bit embarrassing for him. He couldn't say it for a long time. It was CP who took over the conversation. And we promise that, as long as Wald and the officers on his ship are arrested, the others' crimes can be pardoned. If you don't want to suffer, just surrender. Seeing his brother lying in a pool of blood, Benjak endured the pain and shouted, "Now I declare by the order of the acting captain, that the walled pirates will be temporarily disbanded. Everyone should break out of the siege with the goal of staying alive." The walled pirates, who had just broken through to a safe place, were in chaos again. Sebastian and others, who were seriously exhausted, could only break out of the siege with difficulty in the face of their rebellious subordinates. Chinese medicine boxing ginseng vitality. As a ship doctor, Nakan sprinkled a piece of medicine powder on his own people, which briefly stimulated the vitality of the human body. Although there would be a price to pay later, there was no chance to hesitate at this time. Sebastian used his last strength to hold several officers in his arms, jumped into the water at the cost of several bullets, and fled to the distance relying on the physical strength of the fishman. Although these officers escaped, Wald had been arrested, and this plan was still a great success for them. "Sir, we have done what you ordered." "See? Oh, you mean the pardon? We will do it." As he said that, a finger gun pierced his chest, and the remaining CP agents also took action. Facing these supermen cultivated by the world government, these miscellaneous soldiers are no match at all. Their main goal is to bring back Wald. Without Wald, his cadres can't make any waves at all. These rebels are unstable factors and must be eliminated after the matter is over. How can the government forgive pirates? There are always naive people who believe such stupid words. Isn't it good? The more idiots like this, the smoother our plan will be. In fact, it is not absolute. After all, in a few years, the 7 warlords of the sea system will be proposed. The pirates selected as the 7 warlords of the sea are special pirates with legal plundering rights, but such pirates also need to show their value. Such ordinary minions, without any background, are not qualified to negotiate with the world government. How's the photo collection going? After restraining Wald with ceased and handcuffs, the agents took him to the target location. As long as they handed him over to the prison ship, their mission would be completed. At the same time, the head of the agents asked his men a question. As the intelligence agency of the world government, they also work part-time as photographers, the strongest profession, to obtain photos of certain wanted criminals. Almost all the cadres have been photographed, and there are also these. Just let the people above arrange them when the time comes. He pointed to the small camera in his arms, with an expression that you can rest assured that I will do the work. A few days later, the banquet of the Beast's pirates was over. They had occupied the nearby island chain and had their own territory in the new world. The celebration banquet was over, and the rest was business. The island where Kaido and Wald fought had been turned into a deserted island. Arceus turned it into the cemetery of the beast's pirates, and the members who died in the battle left their tombstones there. This is a rare thing for most pirates. Many pirates died by being buried at sea. They were drifting on the sea and had no place to live. Few people would care about ordinary subordinates who died in battle, let alone arrange a cemetery. This behavior slightly improved the sense of belonging of the beast's pirates, making them feel that the messy rules of the beast's pirates were worth it. The banquet was over, the dead had been buried, and most of the wounded had been treated. The rest was the reward according to merit that Kaido promised. The most basic reward is property, which is also what most pirates need the most. Whether it is alcohol or anything else, they have to spend money to buy it in the territory. SYNOPSIS has formulated a discount for pirate members to buy things at cost price, but opposes freeloading. Freeloading in all senses. Similarly, even if you really want a whore, you have to spend money. The customs industry on the sea has always been very developed. He knows that this kind of thing can't be controlled at all. Even if the Navy doesn't prohibit it, he could only make a rule not to harass ordinary civilians. It was troublesome to implement at first, but it got much better after Shaina dealt with a few typical cases. However, we cannot only focus on punishment without reward. The rules that SYNOPSIS had discussed and made with Arceus and the others came into play at this time. That is, the person who gets the final reward must be someone who has not violated the rules for a period of time. The first person to rush onto Wald's ship happened to be such a person, and he was also the first to jump down and pick up Quinn, so he was the first beneficiary of the beast's pirates. Babanuki, come up. Today I will let you know why you must respectfully address him as the Holy Beast Master. Chapter 71, Supernatural Power and Cyborgs. Quinn got a microphone from somewhere. Although he created a good atmosphere, Arceus always had a strange feeling of drawing a lottery at a roadside stall. Because on the temporary platform, there was really a lottery roulette. This reward is a beginning, but not the end. There will be more, and more such things in the future. The rewards for great heroes are naturally needless to say, but there are many similar small-scale battles. The person who is eligible for the reward may also be an unknown pirate under the command. After all, power is divided into strong and weak. They are not as good as the cadres, so it is normal that the abilities they get are not as good as the cadres. People will not envy someone who is very different from them, but they will envy people who are similar to themselves. There are always some people who feel more uncomfortable watching others make money than losing money. It is not the lack of wealth that is worrying, but the inequality. In order to deal with this potential contradiction, they simply made a lottery roulette. What kind of ability you get depends on luck, so that no one can say anything. Babanuki, the quarry warden of the beast's pirates in the later period, but he is still a young man now. Come on, it's up to you what you can get. Quinn handed him a small dart, and the huge roulette wheel was divided into several areas. Although he knew the words, he didn't know what each word represented. Brother Quinn, what are these? They are all very practical abilities. As long as you are lucky enough, you may be able to shake the same abilities as the cadres. The abilities of the cadres have a special meaning in the current beast group, because the cadres here are all fantasy beasts. The two words fantasy beasts on the roulette wheel are also very clear, but the proportion is also quite small. As for the problem of missing the target, they are pirates. If they miss the target when throwing a dart, then they should stop working as soon as possible. This job is not suitable for them. The diameter of this roulette wheel is about the same as Jin's height now, so even a child will not miss the target. If it were another world, Quinn would probably be a good host of a show. Well, a comedy variety show. After all, the host also needs to look good. Now the emotions of the pirates off the field were completely mobilized by him. Facing the high-speed spinning roulette, Babanuki threw the dart in his hand. After confirming that he hit the target, Quinn stopped the roulette. But sometimes fate is very strange. The dart he threw just hit the dividing line. The words IAI and super strength are things on both sides. Choose one, Babanuki. There will be no second chance. Super strength. He is not very good at using a sword. IAI gives people a feeling of IAI/. He thinks that thing is useless, so he chose something with a simpler literal meaning. By the way, are you full? I'm full. I ate a lot at the previous banquet. Babanuki didn't understand why Quinn suddenly asked him if he was full, but the next moment, Arceus had walked in front of him, and a strange power surged into his body, and Babanuki was also pulled into the learning space. This so-called reward seems to be a little thunderous for the time being, and these ordinary pirates don't know why Babanuki suddenly fell asleep. Don't worry, little ones. When Babanuki wakes up, you will know what happened. The next thing is more important. Quinn had someone push up a stone slab. It was a replica of the Arceus slab. The stone slab that was not activated by Arceus looked like this to outsiders. Except for being indestructible, they could not find any characteristics. Remember this size and appearance. As long as you can find it, even if it is just news, once it is confirmed to be true, you can put forward a reasonable condition. But remember, the news can be wrong, but it must not be false. If you dare to deliberately spread false news, the consequences will be very serious. In addition, all of the above materials can be exchanged for awards. Quinn once again gave examples of those extinct materials, which were mixed with some irrelevant things. Except for Arcee, no one could figure out what these things were used for. Then they entered a long waiting period. Although the celebration banquet was over, for the pirates, it was no big deal to hold another banquet. Before Babanuki woke up, the members of the Beasts were temporarily stationed here, and Quinn took the opportunity to hold a solo concert. I won't comment on whether it sounds good or not, but the Beasts members below seem to like it very much, and Arceus continued to talk to Kaido about business. That thing has been made, but unfortunately the effect is not as good as expected. This is yours. Remember to observe its reaction when you go out and wander around in the future. It has positioning on it, and it is foolproof operation. He threw the slate radar to Kaido with his elemental hand. Don't throw it away. It won't be possible to make a second one for a while. The leather wristband has a small instrument on it. It is produced from the skin of a special sea beast. It has extremely high resistance and ductility. Even the transformation of the animal system will not break it. The special structure prevents the pure gold inside from affecting the carrier, and will not cause the wearer to grow up. I know, but how long will Babanuki last? I don't know. This thing depends mainly on personal talent. Then Arceus handed another radar to Shaina. Shaina, this is yours. The sensing range is smaller than Kaido's, but it doesn't matter. You are not as strong as him. After finding the news, the first goal is to inform me. Don't act rashly. Yes, Lord Holy Beast. 2 days passed, and Babanuki still didn't wake up, but someone came to find Quinn. After a battle, there are not only the dead, but also the wounded. Although Quinn is not very serious at times, he is indeed the ship doctor in the team. Whether it is surgery or viruses, he can basically solve them. There were many wounded in the battle with the walled pirates. One of them was a little special. He and Babanuki were the first to rush forward, but Babanuki was lucky and didn't suffer any fatal injuries, but he was different. His right arm was cut off, and his face was burned over a large area. Although his life was saved, he was basically a useless person. The position originally assigned to him was logistics staff, but he made a request, hoping to accept Quinn's human body transformation. In the world of pirates, being responsible for logistics after being disabled basically means a poor life, which they cannot accept. After all, he was a man with war merits and proposed to exchange his efforts in battle for a chance to be transformed. Of course, Quinn agreed to this kind of thing, as he was worried that his transformation technology had no place to be used. Many people were resistant to human body transformation. Chapter 72 Envy and Rage. Miniguns replaced arms, metal parts replaced joints, and with special neural connection technology, Quinn completed his transformation in just 1 day. Although Scourge's body became much more bloated after the transformation, it still maintained its combat effectiveness. In terms of his own qualifications, this is actually a strengthening of his combat effectiveness. Even in the new world, not everyone is proficient in domineering and can cut iron. Mechanical transformation people can play a greater role in many cases. However, there are still a few people who are willing to transform themselves, and more attention is placed on Babanuki. How long has this kid Babanuki slept? 2 days and 2 nights. It's already the 3rd day. Who knows what's wrong with him? Ordinary pirates went from curiosity to confusion, and now to discussions. They thought Babanuki would get a huge treasure or something else, but now it seems that the result is different. It was not until noon on the third day, counting from the 60th hour, since Babanuki fell asleep, that he opened his eyes. Hey, brothers, Babanuki is awake. The surrounding pirates gathered around Babanuki when he woke up, and then asked curiously, "It's the third day, what did you get? Let's talk later. Is there anything to eat?" The length of time to learn depends mainly on talent. Shaina took 7 hours to master the sword dance, Kaido took even less time, and Babanuki took 60 hours, which is 2 months in the learning space, and he only reached the entry level. At the same time, it also brought mental fatigue and physical hunger. The other pirates have been holding a banquet. Although it is not as grand as at the beginning, the food has always been sufficient. He walked to the side and ate a lot. He stood up again at the urging of the pirates. "Don't worry, I'll show you what I got." He looked around, as if he was looking for something suitable. Finally, a huge rock half exposed on the ground came into his sight. He walked to the rock and then hugged it with his arms. "You didn't fall asleep, did you? Do you want to pull it out?" The exposed part of the stone was higher than the others, and there was no telling how much part was under the ground. It might even be connected to the rock layer below. They knew what Babanuki was capable of, and it was impossible for him to do such a thing. But the next moment, the muscles in Babanuki's arms seemed to swell twice. With a roar, he dragged the half-buried boulder out, then raised it above his head, and threw it directly into the sea in the distance. He was lucky. It was just a piece of scattered boulder. Although the volume below was not small, it was not deeply rooted. Looking at the surrounding pirates who were about to drop their jaws, Babanuki felt a special sense of satisfaction. If you only get power, but cannot show it off in front of others, the effect will be much worse. Although it consumes more physical strength when using the strange power technique, the power gained is completely worth it. In the past, he could not throw this stone so far, even if he was exhausted to death, not to mention that it was a stone buried in the soil. See, if you want to get these powers, go fight and find what we need. As long as you can bring these things back, you will have the opportunity to get these powers. Treasures can be lost, but power will not. Those who embark on the road of pirates will not dislike having too much power. Babanuki's performance almost set off a new round of enthusiasm, and Arceus' status was also pushed to a higher position. Not all pirates can be fearless, and there are many pirates with little thoughts. Since the source of power is Arceus, and Kaido only discusses some things with Arceus, and cannot command him at all, that is to say, if they can get Arceus' approval, they can also get power. So a special group was born in the Beast's Pirates, a group that took the dog-licking spirit to the extreme, but their target was Arceus. With their instigation and the temptation of power, Arceus' status in the Beast's Pirates has soared day by day, and he has completely become an object of worship. With Shaina as the core, the prototype of a religious group was born among the early members of the Beast's Pirates. At the same time, some news was also put on the black market. The underground world of pirates is very chaotic, with complicated relationships. You can even see notices here that want the heads of naval generals. Anyway, they dare to release any news, but whether anyone dares to take it is another matter. The news of Beishao was also released, and the target was some minerals, animal-type devil fruits, special-shaped stone slabs, etc. However, the black market is not very reliable after all, but Arceus' current policy is to cast a net everywhere, so a high reward is also offered on the black market. In the black market, hard currency is still gold, devil fruits, treasure tree Adam and other stable and valuable items. Even Bailey is slightly worse, and the reward put on Beishao is Bailey. And there are many troublesome things in black market transactions, such as black eating black, fraud, phishing enforcement. There is nothing that can't happen here, only unexpected things. The most important thing in the black market is reliable strength and excellent vision. As for middlemen, they are middlemen when your strength is equal. When you are not equal in strength and enter this cannibalistic trading market, being able to live and leave freely is the greatest luck. The next stage is still the development stage. Kaido, Arceus, and Shaina are divided into 3 groups. to search for traces of stone slabs from nearby islands. After all, Kaido still needs to consolidate his territory, so it is best not to go too far away from here for the time being. At the same time, the Beast's pirates are also developing their economy. Many things cannot be solved by force, and Bailey is also very important. For example, the materials needed for shipbuilding, a piece of wood that can make high quality keels is also very expensive in the black market, and it almost determines the life of the ship. With Babanuki as an example, the members of the Beasts are more fierce in battle, especially Babanuki. This reward is not something that can only be taken once. He often charges at the front line with heavy weapons after getting the strange power. Everything is developing smoothly until the arrival of the newsbirds. In addition to newspapers, these newsbirds also bring the latest bounty orders. It was also because of this bounty order that Shaina overturned the table again, and the eruption of fire even ignited the house. Chapter 73 Tragedy caused by bounty order. Everyone in the pirate group must have their own position. Shaina is a religious staff member and part-time discipline committee member. Without Arceus's instruction, Kaido cannot command her. Although Arceus and Kaido are in a cooperative relationship, the cooperation to this extent is only nominally different from joining. In fact, what he does can be regarded as a member of the Beasts. After all, Arceus is involved in almost all the development plans of the Beasts. He and Afi are considered to be the few normal people in this regard. They have formulated a special order. Now the residents of the Beasts' territory have even accepted the rule of the Beasts from the heart. There is no danger to life. As long as you complete the quantitative work in the place they specify and pay a certain amount of income as protection fees, you can live here. This is not much different from the environment of some kingdoms. In terms of major policies, Arceus has copied the development plan of Naxos to a certain extent. As long as you can show your own value, no matter what value you have, you can get enough status. This is a plan that is more suitable for the current situation. No matter how good it is, this is the rule of pirates. It is impossible to do charity. The Beasts can support those who are injured in battle, and the families of those who work for the Beasts can also be supported, but they will never take care of irrelevant people. As the captain and governor of the Beasts Pirates, Kaido often does not do his job, but it is not strange that the captain does not take care of things. After Kaido and Arceus, Shaina's current combat power is the undisputed number 1. She has proved this in battle, so she and Jin are equal to each other. In addition, she is ruthless in dealing with those pirates who violate the rules. When she gets angry, these pirates will try to stay away to avoid getting into trouble. But this time she got a little too excited. Big sister, calm down, calm down. This matter is uncontrollable. But these words did not have any effect, and they did not dare to stop Shaina from getting angry. What should we do? How about you go? Are you kidding? Can we stop the angry big sister? Where are brother Kaido and brother Arceus? They just went out 2 days ago, you know that. Then they looked at their leaders. The tall one had to push up when the sky fell. As the captain of a small team, he usually enjoyed higher treatment, and he had to push up when something happened. No, why is the big sister angry? Tell me. He was originally collecting taxes from ships replenishing resources at the port. This is also the rule. When anchored in other pirates' territories, they have to pay money, no matter what they do, otherwise it means war. Unexpectedly, something went wrong later. The newsbird just sent the latest bounty order. The big sister read it, and it's like this. Then he took some new bounties from the side. After the battle between the walled pirates and the Beasts Pirates, the cadres of the Beasts Pirates were basically on the bounty, and Kaido's bounty was also raised to 1.8 billion, which was considered to be adding Wald's bounty to him. As he searched, Arceus' bounty appeared in front of him, and he also knew the reason for Shaina's rage. Unknown creature, pet of the Beasts Pirates, bounty of 5,000 berries. Shaina is an impulsive type, but sometimes she will have two extreme reactions. She is very cautious when dealing with things arranged by Arceus, and she will not make any mistakes. She can even appear in front of Arceus with a stopwatch. Once insulting words appear, she will enter an extreme of irritability. Insulting Arceus in front of her is no different from insulting a nun in front of an aunt. Defining Arceus as a pet, or an unknown creature without a name, plus a huge bounty of 5,000 berries. It can be said that her thunder points are stepped on from beginning to end. The Navy and the world government are both qualified to set the bounty amount. Usually, who is to set it is determined according to the degree of harm caused by the pirates. Some of the small fish in the four seas are usually directly set by the branches of the fourth seas and then reported. But the big pirates are set by the world government and then conveyed to the Navy below. Sometimes the amount of the bounty they set is very confusing, with some zeros and some integers, and no one knows how to come up with this number. In some cases, they set the bounty based on the present, such as a reindeer with an initial bounty of 50 berries. After many major events, the bounty doubled to 100 berries. For non-human creatures, they often make strange bounties, including but not limited to Chopper at 50 berries, Bebo at 500 berries, and now Arceus at 5,000 berries. The photo shows Arceus standing on the bow. It seems that he was photographed by the agent on the walled ship when he arrived at the battlefield with the supply ship. For some unknown purpose, Arceus was also put on a bounty, but no relevant information was collected, so he was simply given such a strange name. In a sense, 5,000 berries is already a very important act. After all, this is the first bounty of 100 choppers. But it still didn't change the fact that 5,000 berries couldn't even afford a big meal. Add to that the unknown creatures, pets, and all these titles. Shaina would be a ghost if she wasn't angry. The source of the problem was found, but it didn't actually solve the problem. Let's call the Holy Beast boss. We probably can't persuade the big sister. Big sister, what are you going to do? Looking at Shaina, who was about to leave after venting, he suddenly had a bad premonition. What? I'm going to kill the guy who made the bounty order. No, big sister, calm down. We don't know who made this thing at all. By the way, the Holy Beast Master is against massacres, and your mission during this period is to stay here. Shaina's advantage is that she won't attack indiscriminately like the aunt when she enters a rage. She has been poor for too many days on the road of escape, so she only chooses cheap things to throw. This time, she really couldn't suppress the fire, so she set the house on fire. After that, she vented her anger on things like stones outside. Now someone is putting out the fire. After a lot of persuasion from her subordinates and Arceus's mission requirements, she calmed down temporarily. Send me a new bounty in the underground world to see who named this bounty order. This matter is not over yet. Also, who of you wants to practice with me? As soon as these words were spoken, the pirates all took a step back. Usually, they would get beaten when practicing with Shaina, let alone at this time. However, at this time, the lucky one appeared. Ha 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 ha, what's wrong? Why did you set the house on fire? Quinn came here just because of something. After pushing away his subordinates, he saw the dangerous eyes under Shaina's mask. Chapter 74. Thank you Brother Quinn for your heroic dedication. Am I here at a wrong time? His instinct told him that it was dangerous here. Not only Shaina, but also the younger brothers around were watching him. Brother Quinn, please help me. The people of the beast suddenly lined up, bowed to Quinn, and then quickly hid aside. The relationship between the cadres of the beast's pirates was very strange, and it was no secret to ordinary people. Although they cooperated well in battle, they were a group of weirdos when they were not in combat. For example, Jin and Quinn would quarrel as soon as they met, but although the two would quarrel fiercely, they rarely fought. Shaina and Quinn would not quarrel now, and they could communicate smoothly under normal circumstances, provided that Shaina did not enter a furious state. Once she was in a bad mood, a fight would break out when she met Quinn. Usually Quinn was beaten unilaterally, so Quinn had to count the days before going out. If he caught up with Shaina, who might be in a bad mood due to physical discomfort, Shaina would definitely not see Quinn within a radius of dozens of miles. Before Quinn showed up, the members of the beasts were worried that they would be dragged over to serve as sparring partners, but with Quinn here, they were safe. After all, when Shaina was angry, Quinn would have a taunting or a buff. Looking at the brothers who were moving away quickly, an ominous premonition came over him. I suddenly remembered that I still have something to finish in my laboratory. I'll leave first. You can burn these houses if you want. This is the most important cargo island in the territory of the beast's pirates. Almost all the transactions of materials in the territory are carried out here. He came here because the equipment he purchased has arrived. Now the territory of the beasts occupies 5 large islands. The Winter Island, where the Arms Manufacturing and Research Institute are located. The Trading Island, where Shaina is located, has the climate of the Spring Island. And there are 2 islands mainly for mining and a Summer Island mainly for farming. In addition to the scattered small islands around these islands that have no names but only numbers, it can be regarded as a small achievement. Quinn originally came to pick up a courier and take a look at the excitement, but he didn't expect to get burned. Quinn, we haven't fought for a while, right? Let's practice? Ah, the wind is too strong. What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. If you have something to say, you should go find that torture engine. As he said this, 2 pairs of leaf wings grew from his back, and he was about to leave. However, as soon as he turned around, he saw Shaina appear in front of him. Since you are here, don't leave. Otherwise, I will lose face. Wait. Fighting is fine, but give me a reason. In terms of speed, he could not match Shaina. Since it was inevitable, he at least wanted to die with a clear mind. My hands are itching. I want to spar with you to check the results of my recent training. The simple reason was so simple that Quinn had nothing to say. I can fight back. Of course, I said it was a sparring match. Otherwise, I would go to hit the sandbag. Quinn resisted in vain and was forcibly dragged to the training ground on the island by Shaina. What followed was a one-sided beating. Quinn did not let her go. He really couldn't beat her. After a while, Shaina's rage was over and Quinn had experienced training again. He felt that if he continued like this, his domineering level would break through. Then he saw the younger brothers outside serving tea and water. Brother Quinn, you have worked hard. They said it from the bottom of their hearts. If Quinn had not happened to appear here, they would have been dragged into the training ground. Although they could get a lot of gains every time they came out of the training ground, it was really painful. Quinn helped them avoid this crisis, so of course they had to thank him. Why is she so angry? Which of you offended her? He thought he had mastered Shaina's living habits. As long as he avoided that weak and showed more respect to Arceus, nothing would happen. Since he sold the information of Judge and others to Shaina last time, he hadn't been beaten for a while. Brother Quinn, it's because of this bounty order. Looking at Arceus's bounty order, Quinn's face couldn't help but twitch a little. The big sister has offered a reward to find the person who compiled the bounty order and took the photo. Double the price. Huh. I said double the price. If it weren't for that bastard, would I be so unlucky? Is this guy blind? Who can say that word? He thought about it, but still didn't say the word pet. If Shaina was still there, it wouldn't be fun. Of course, Shaina was not the only one who saw Arceus' bounty order, but everyone in the beast group pretended that they didn't see it, and no one brought it up in front of Arceus. People can ignore it and laugh at themselves, but if some words come from other people's mouths, it will change the taste. That is, Kaido laughed meaninglessly after seeing the bounty order. After that, the price of anything in Kaido's territory never appeared in the amount of 5,000 Bailey. At the same time, Alga and Jin also appeared on another island with the beast's manpower. They came here to purchase supplies on the black market. The production of pure gold is very difficult. Not only are those extinct materials very rare, but even the existing materials are not so easy to find. After receiving the news from the black market, they naturally came here. However, at this time, they were not flying their own banners, but the banner of Prilt. The world government misjudged Prilt's situation due to Spandine's false information, and thus believed that Captain John's treasure was inextricably linked to Prilt. At the same time, because clues of pure gold were found on that island, they also put the matter of pure gold on Prilt's head. Kaido and other people who know Prilt's situation best. The actions of the world government in the new world cannot be said to be absolutely secret. Since they have not been able to find Prilt's whereabouts, they have also begun to expand the search network, which inevitably leads to information leaks. The efficacy and value of pure gold are too troublesome. Neither Arceus nor Kaido want to be targeted by the world government now, so after some thought, they decided to add a new smoke bomb to the government. Alga's ability to disguise the people of the beasts as Prilt's people. Since the misunderstanding has already been left, let's make this misunderstanding bigger. Never trust the credibility of underground merchants too much. They may be afraid of power and not do something extraordinary. For example, the Kingdom of Nathu will maintain the security of transactions within its territory. However, selling to copies of information is simply the norm in the underground world. It is unrealistic to expect them to keep it secret. Chapter 75 Illusion and Red. Captain Jin. Prilt, we are here. They were not used to calling Jin that, and Prilt's original crew had long since disappeared. But their faces were also disguised, and as long as the illusion was still there, no one could recognize them. On an unknown island in the New World, the people of the beasts came to the trading place. The Grey Kingdom, like the Kingdom of Nathu, was an exception. The underground world trading market in the New World rarely appeared in the open, and there would be reasons to cover themselves up. For example, this island was not recorded on the nautical chart at all, and it could only be found through special recording pointers. Although the existence of the underground market was almost tacitly acknowledged by the world government, it was also a target of the Navy. Not all Grey transactions were covered by the status of a member country like the Kingdom of Nathu. They were an illegal organization, and the place where pirates gathered had always been a target of the Navy. They found a hidden corner nearby to hide the ship. Although it would not be discovered in theory, the pirates still carefully hid their ships. It is not strange to encounter pirates on the sea, nor is it strange to encounter patrolling navy. In order to prevent encountering some naval generals who are full of justice and want to arrest pirates, when they see them, no one will blatantly stop the ship at the port. Without the eternal pointer, it is basically impossible to find this place, but it cannot be ruled out that some people pass by here by accident. From the outside, this is just an ordinary island. Even if you go to the island, you can only see serious business. Alga ensures the secrecy of the team, and Jin is responsible for the force. His strength is enough to deal with most pirates. Even if an accident really happens, it is enough to take Alga away from here. The irradiation of pure gold light for hundreds of years has caused some side effects. Although it has been freed from the influence of pure gold, its appearance has not changed much from when it just left the belly of the Sea King 2 years ago. According to Arceus' analysis, this phenomenon may last for quite a long time. They came here naturally to get enough information. There is a town on this island, which looks no different from an ordinary town, but when Jin and his friends said the code in a tavern, they came to the underground exchange here. The people inside are of different shapes and colors. Some cover their faces with hoods and masks, while others walk here openly. The logos of the various pirate groups on them are their confidence. Pirates value their own flags very much. If outsiders use the emblem of a pirate group privately, it is also an act of declaring war. However, few people do this. There is a price to pay for using someone else's pirate flag. Although it can scare off some weak pirates, it will also attract stronger pirates. The pirates who do not cover their faces are all members of the big pirate group. Golden Lion, Whitebird, Big Mom, their logos can be seen here. Nowadays, the flag of the beast can also play a certain deterrent role, but in order to confuse the line of sight, all of them carry the logo of Prilt. And this underground trading market also makes Olga uncomfortable. This can be said to be the real dark side. When she was in the Kingdom of Natjo, she stayed in the hotel and did not see those things, but now she saw them. Minerals, trees, gold, and people. People of all races can be seen in the cages. Long-armed people, fishmen, whether they are minorities or ordinary people, they are not uncommon here, and there are also some bloody organs, which seem to have just been taken out of the body. From time to time, there are screams and wails, but no one cares about these, and they are still talking about business with a smile. This is the dirtiest, or the most real side of this world. These people were originally pirates, or members of non-member countries, and there are also people who were abducted from member countries, but now, they are just commodities. This is a cruel world. You have embarked on this road. Only by constantly becoming stronger can you survive. Shaina and Alga get along well. Seeing that Alga's expression is not very good, Jin said a few more words. He would not care about ordinary people. Zorok's group illusion is very realistic, and the changes in their expressions will also be reflected in the illusion. As she masters her own abilities, the consumption of the illusion becomes smaller and smaller. Put away your sympathy. You can't help them here. That expression will only make these hounds in the dark target you. If you want everything to go your way, you must at least have the strength to match it. Soonjin found their trading partner. He was covered in a black robe and his face could not be seen clearly. Even if there were people inside the underground market, to maintain law and order, too many things were exposed here. After leaving, people would still target him. It's always right to be careful. The transaction used real money. This is not a one-time transaction. You still have to pay a little attention to your credit. If the illusion is discovered, it will not end well. Alga's ability is limited in range. If you use illusions as currency, it will be discovered in no time. The transaction process was smooth. Prilt's 500 million bounty is still enough to deter some people. Although some pirates will forge their own bounties to achieve some special purposes, the bounties that can be published in newspapers are all real. After the money and goods were settled, Jin and others packed up and left. Under the cover of illusion, there were no more Prilt people here, only the beasts. No one could have imagined that the previous transaction was with this group of people. However, they went around and hid the things with illusions and returned here. This time, they appeared here as the Beast's pirates. The special materials were purchased with Prilt's identity, but some regular materials were purchased with the Beast's identity. Prilt would disappear after leaving here, so whether leaving or coming, the flag of the Beasts was hung on the ship. It was not common sense to come back empty-handed from such a place. Treasure Tree Adam was one of their targets. Today, the Beast's pirates lacked a real main battleship. The ship could be built in no time, but good materials still had to be stored in advance. In addition to trading, there were more entertainment facilities here. After removing the disguise, they were not restricted too much and had some free time. They also got a lot of spoils in the previous battle. There were only a few pirates who liked to save money. Most people valued instant enjoyment. After all, this was a profession that could die at any time. Alga took Elizabeth to buy 1 or 2 slaves to see if she could do anything. She felt awkward doing nothing. However, there were noises coming from a distance. A boy with a strange red nose and another boy with red hair seemed to be arguing about something. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.